Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados right here on Thinking Critical YouTube. We've got an interesting weekend. We've got Dallas Fan Expo. Half the people are gone. Doc is still on vacation. We got Aaron at a trade show. But we're talking the best DC Comics anyway, so we ended up with an all-star panel of DC Comics experts. We're going to have a whole lot of fun. Jim did almost kill himself this week, so we're going to have a little highlight right out the gate for that one. But first up, we do want to welcome to the channel Nander Foxshafer, independent comic book writer from my home state of Missouri. How you doing, Nander?
Oh, I'm doing so well. It's so great to be here. I can't wait to talk about DC Comics. This is like such an amazing universe. And as I've gotten older, I've actually grown to enjoy DC more than Marvel. So it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about.
So you got some long boxes back there. How many long boxes you got in that room?
They're actually short boxes, but I have like about 20, 25. I have a lot. So
is it all your stuff, or is there some big?
It's all my stuff. Yeah, it's all my stuff. And then I have behind me, I have all my graphic novels too. So I got a lot.
Very nice. You got anything going on right now, or anything that's about to be coming down the pike that everyone needs to know about?
I do have a few things coming out. I do actually have the Fabled Offering is on Indiegogo right now and in demand. So that's a sci-fi fantasy book that I think I was on a few months ago talking about it with US, but it's on in demand right now. So you can still pick up that book, but you can also pick up my other titles on that campaign as well. And then coming up later this year, Manchild issue 3. I'll be launching a crowdfunding campaign for that, as well as my Supernatural superhero graphic novel series Seasons. Volumes 1 and 2 have been out for a while, but they've only been available in hardcover, and I'm going to be re-releasing them as trade paperback editions. It's going to be a 4-volume graphic novel series over 400 or 500 pages altogether, but the first 2 volumes are 100 pages each. And it's something I've been working on for a really long time, and I'm really excited to share that with new readers and people that may have not heard of me because I've been making comics for about 6 or 7 years now, but I have a couple different titles, but it's been really exciting to kind of branch out and work in different genres and build my reader base that way. So if people are interested in what I can offer, or any of my titles, I do have a newsletter where people can subscribe, foxholecomics.substack.com, or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Foxhole Comics on YouTube.
Very nice. We'll be looking out for that. If you're looking for some good indie books, go to the Indiegogo right now and be looking out for Manchild Volume 2 or Volume 3. I think Manchild 1 was the first big book you did, right?
It was one of them. I had Seasons Volumes 1 and 2, and then I did a book called Lifeline, and then Manchild issues 1 and 2, and then the Fabled Offering, and then we'll be going to issue 3 of Manchild next.
Very, very nice. We've also got Dylan, the Real Comic Book Gamer, returning to the channel. We're talking the best DC comics. We had to have Dylan here. It is the name of the cat. It's got to be Lois.
No, he's Ginger. Take another guess.
Ginger. Oh, it's Olsen. Jimmy Olsen?
Yep, Jimmy. There you go. Yeah, this is Jimmy.
You can never tell with cats.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but I thought the Ginger might be a giveaway. Yeah, this is the one who's always in the background. He never shuts up. He likes to talk a lot. So I have to give him a lot of attention. Otherwise, he's just in the background yelling.
Very, very good. You got anything big people should know about? Obviously with the channel, but you also got the Twitch and YouTube and the podcast and all that stuff.
Nothing big right now. Just working on a few things I hope to have out in the next coming weeks. It'll have out, but nothing nothing too crazy. But yeah, check out the channel.
Oh, we're gonna get crazy here because we're gonna be talking the best DC comics. When we get into Superman, it's gonna be a bloodbath.
I can't wait.
Each other. And a big shout out to AL, who apparently has COVID again. That's awful. It sounds like she's on some bed rest. Hope you're doing better. And hopefully we can bring a little smile to your faces. We're talking about some of these awesome comic books here today. There was a lot of actual news to cover, but fuck it. Let's talk about the good stuff. Why even worry about X-Men or Uncanny X-Men 700 when we can talk about, what was it, Batman 442, Eric?
It's Batman 424, and I'll show it to you when it's time to talk about
big
Batman,
reveal.
the big reveal. Guess what happens? No, it's yeah. I mean, we're all gonna have a really nice things to add about this subject because, like, I'm looking forward to Jim and Dylan's DC picks here because they both came onto this in the 21st century. Jim's an old fogey like me. We grew up with pocket change and spinner racks, but he came on to the DC Comics with New 52, and Dylan's 26 years old. So here I am, an old fogey, and I'm like very proud to share panels with him because the torch has definitely been passed into the right hands. So this is fun. Thank you, Wes.
Eric was beside himself when he thought Gardner Fox was just totally fucking up the DC universe. This new kid on the show, this new kid on the block doesn't know what he's doing. Destroyed everything.
Like, who are you? Who moved my cheese? No, I'll get you.
You got
kids.
anything going on? I know you got the incel cast and all kinds of stuff going on the YouTubes.
I retired the incel cast because it did its purpose. I needed subscribers, and so I went on a subscriber charge, and so I picked up all of these new subscribers and negative comments doing this stupid thing called the Incel Show, the Midtown Morning Show, and it was camouflage for sharing my gratitude list and being like, hey, here's some tactical and practical spirituality. Don't feel like a loser. Feel like someone who's climbing a mountain, and that's life. And just like, get on with it, man. You've got this. You know,
man, it sounds like the MGTOW hour was aimed for Jim. If anyone needs to learn how to climb the mountain.
Yeah, really.
You always should wear a harness then.
I never get to the top. If I get to the top, I just fall over to the other side. And by the way, Eric, I didn't have pocket change. I played pocket pinball.
Oh man, Jim and I had some fun this week talking for the Doc Unfiltered portion because Doc is out, and you're gonna like those stories when they come up. But first, we do have Gabe returning for Comical Opinions, and apparently Jim has made Sus Gabe a thing. When they talk about weird science, they talk about Sus Gabe now.
Yep, that's a thing apparently. So what we were mentioning before the stream got started is I was just tooling around YouTube, just checking out other live streams, see what people are doing, what are they up to, what are they talking about, trying to get a sense of trends and keep my finger on the pulse of the comic fandom. Of course, Weird Science came up because Weird Science is one of the best DC Marvel comic review sites in the planet. And what are people talking about? Oh, that's Sus Gabe. Why can't he get his reviews straight? So now I'm referred to as Sus Gabe in outside of my fear of visibility and understanding, and now it is a thing that's following me wherever I go. So thank you, Jim. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I want to raise. That's all I got to say.
Sus Gabe. They might have been talking about the formatting of your reviews. Just that is what they're talking about.
It could be that. It's a very stream of consciousness writing style. It is very stream of consciousness. But thank you. It's been a while since I've been on the show, and we've had some scheduling conflicts, but I was happy to pull it off. And if we're talking about big things that are happening, of course, go to Comical Opinions for all the reviews from everything that isn't Marvel and DC. If you want Marvel and DC, go to Weird Science Marvel Comics and Weird Science DC Comics. That's always great stuff. And of course, we've been putting for Comical Opinions, we've been putting video versions of our reviews up on our YouTube channel, and we just recently passed the 500 subscriber mark, which is a big deal, and I'm very happy about that. Of course, if you like video reviews, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and happy to talk comics with anyone and everyone because we love it so very, very much.
So definitely go check out Gabe's stuff and support Comical Opinions, and that's awesome. Congratulations. You just got to get the view hours up, and then you'll be right there.
Yep.
Make a little of the moolah.
Yep. We're working our way up. We're trending upward, as the saying goes.
Jim, are you trending upward or are you trending downward?
I might be none. I'm trending like horizontal, maybe. No, I don't know. It's Gabe is trending, it seems, with his susness, but I'm just kind of here. Just here.
Fine.
Yeah.
So you had gone at least 2 months without almost killing yourself.
Yes. Yep. Almost made it. But
and now the sign has been renounced, 0 days without an accident.
Yeah, I should have that outside the house. Yeah. And I feel sick today. So I apologize if I end up, I don't know what. But my wife ended up spilling water on the stairs to our attic where I record. And I told her not to worry about it because it's pretty hot. It's just water. And not realizing that I'm an idiot, and went running down the stairs, fell, twisted my knee. I really hit my shin, and and then she was yelling that I was going to get some sort of blood clot. I don't know. She was screaming, and she was yelling at me, like yelling that it wasn't her fault, but I never said it was. It was my fault for just telling her to leave it. She's screaming and yelling, and dog was barking, but none of the kids reacted. They just went on their way.
So
it is. Always.
That's just dad.
That is, yes. That's just dad being an idiot. But yeah, that was it though. But it's better now. My knee still kind of does hurt, but I'm fine.
But at our age, Jim, you're in prime time danger of blowing a hip out on an accident like that.
I did have to call because my med alert went off. The bracelet, I had to tell them, not to show up, I think. But no, I did end up
at the blood clot in the background.
Exactly. Just screaming. I did end up at the bottom of the stairs laying like that old lady in the commercial. Yeah. I mean, not only that, I had my walker. Yeah, I'm like, oh my God. No, I ended up down. But I am okay. I'm okay now.
I can get up.
I can't get up.
Yes, exactly. I can a little. And then I struggled back up. And we had to record. Me and Wes were recording.
So Jim, maybe like 18 years ago, my dad and I went to Cripple Creek, which is in Colorado. That's where they have their gambling and all that stuff. It used to be a mining town. And we were gambling all night. And, I had some beers and everything. He was going to be the designated driver. And they comped us breakfast because we lost enough money. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we had a good day at the table, at least for the casino. So we go down there, we're getting our comp breakfast, and all of a sudden I hear this racket, and this dude had fallen down these stairs and put himself in a Boston crab. His upper portion and his face were pushed against the wall, and then his legs were up, he could not stand up. I was like, holy shit, it looks like Bret Hart or something has got him like hemmed up in the WWF. It was amazing. The security had to come and save him.
Yeah, while I was growing up, I fell down the stairs a lot. That's kind of might be my thing. But as a kid, I used to do it, and then my dad got so annoyed that I would fall down the stairs and kind of roll into the living room that legit he told me he installed a door that was at the bottom of the stairs so that it was enclosed, and I would end up like in the crab position at the bottom of the stairs, and then I couldn't move because I was kind of jammed in, and then I'd still hear him screaming and yelling from the TV room, the other room, because I was making too much noise. Never came to see if I was okay or anything.
You're interrupting Gunsmoke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like the Honeymooners. It's a new one. But he ended up so pissed that he claims that that's why he installed the door, because I fell down the stairs too much.
Well, specifically to stop you from falling too far.
Yeah, well, falling into his
he didn't
view.
Have to see you.
That's it. He didn't want to see me and have to come over and see if I was okay. So out of sight, out of mind. Though he still would yell. I mean, he'd start yelling. He'd fall down the stairs again. He'd start screaming. But yeah, that's
very nice.
It happened a lot.
We do need to give a shout out. We've got a new Patreon this week. Backer, we got Patrick McNerney. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. He fights as Loch Ness, and he's the protector of Caledonia Bay. Thank you very much. If you're interested in supporting Thinking Critical on Patreon, there's a link in the video description, as well as links to all these men's socials and YouTube pages and all that good stuff. I'm going to have a whole lot of fun here today, and we do have a couple of super chats. We got Lade Kramer, Red Ultimates #1, meh, gonna drop the book. Did anyone else read Ultimates #1? I was also on the meh bandwagon.
Wow.
I don't know about dropping it after one issue, though. That's
I'll
pretty
give it
tough.
A couple more, but
yeah, I mean, give it at least 2 or 3.
I'm thinking about dropping Ultimate X-Men. I'm telling you that, and I've been pulling behind that. Just I want to see it succeed. The past 2 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man have just stopped the momentum cold on what was brewing to be a interesting iteration. Black Panther's doing okay. I mean, it's a competent superhero story, but I'm with you. I mean, Ultimates 1 was. I'm glad I didn't buy it.
Well, I'll put it like this.
I read it, but I didn't buy it.
You don't buy Ultimates 1 if you want to get excited. Buy Ultimates 1 if you want to be informed. That's about as good as you can put it.
Good way to put it.
Yeah, I haven't read Ultimates 1. I have been getting all of the Ultimates books, and I feel like maybe more so with X-Men and Black Panther, things just feel really slow, and it just I'm I'm not satisfied with the amount of, I don't know, experience I'm getting from them for the amount of money I'm paying. I feel differently about Spider-Man, but something I've noticed, like, it's just I keep waiting for that gotcha moment, or like, ooh, like this is the hook of the book, and I'm just not getting that with X-Men or Black Panther right now.
I feel the exact same way. And then Ultimate's a little bit disappointment, although Gray loved it. We will be talking about that one on Best of the Week later. He also says, soon, Wes and Aaron Acolyte review incoming. Wow. Definitely looking forward to that one. We've got the first 2 episodes are out, and once episode 4 hits, Aaron and I are going to do a review of those 4 episodes for Lade. We'll probably talk about it a little bit on the upcoming Geek Fix as well, but well, I'm keeping an open mind. I haven't watched it yet. I hope that it's good. We'll see what happens. Did anyone watch The Acolyte? Did anyone like it?
Yeah, so watched it. Yeah, I don't know about it.
It is very bland, and it doesn't have anything connecting it really to what people would traditionally associate with Star Wars. It just feels like its own thing off in a corner that's trying to build something up, and it's really not well written either. So
yeah, some
mediocre at best. It's mediocre.
Really rough. Yeah. And I'm a big like High Republic guy. Like I've read a lot of the novels and I've read a lot of the comics, and so I was prepared, like kind of for this part of the universe or the galaxy, like this era. And there's like some cool payoffs, and just in terms of seeing it in live action, like the visuals, because I've been reading the novels and I'm like, picturing how things would look, but seeing it actually on, live action is really cool. But the story itself, like, it's one of those things where you're kind of just bracing for, like, I hope they don't mess anything up. I mean, it's kind of how you feel about Star Wars now, where you're just kind of like, please just be good.
Yeah, the aesthetic has a very High Republic feel to it. So if you've been reading High Republic the books or reading the comics, it has a lot of that same visual look and feel and atmosphere.
Very nice. Satley says Venditti's Hawkman run should get more love. I agree with that. Especially the first 12 issues. You get Brian Hitch on art. It's unfortunate that Year of the Villain happened, and it kind of stunted the progression of the book.
After 12, I think it sucked. I think it just totally. The first 12 issues were great. I gave it my book of the year that year. After that, it just tanked, and just it should have been just a 12-issue maxi series.
He gets it back by the end.
No, it sucked.
The last couple story arcs.
No, it was
Jim.
bad.
You ignorant slut.
You wanted me to talk more this week. The whatever's off. I'm in. Sus Gabe's here. Now, I really love the first 12 issues. Then I just think it kind of treaded water. Year of the Villain kind of ruined it. Then.
Listen. He said talk more. He didn't say argue more.
Oh, that's how I talk.
Is that when Brian Hitch left? Or
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that first 12 issues is like the redone full, origin deal. That was really good. It was really good.
Yeah.
And then, maybe the idea that I was so impressed by the first 12, but after that, I just think it was not very good.
Very nice. Odin87 wanted to say hi before my run and bring up some of my favorite DC stories. New Frontier, Kingdom Come, All-Star Superman, Legend of Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern Rebirth, Brightest Day, Blackest Night. Very, very nice. We're going to be doing New Frontier on the Comics Guild for the Patreon with 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser. I'm very excited because we are wrapping up Planetary within the next couple months. Once that one's over, we're off to New Frontier. Darwood Cook, I'm very, very excited about that one.
Yeah.
So which one's Legend of Wonder Woman? I'm blanking on that one. Is that the
That's the digital first. That's actually, I'll be talking about that by the end. It's Renee DeLees. I always get the names mixed up with it, but it was a digital only that kind of got canceled at one point because they got in a fight with DC.
Oh,
but it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. That's probably going to be my pick for Wonder Woman. It's really good, and it's just a digital book, a digital first deal, and it is really, really good.
Weird.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
It's
on, if you have the Infinite app, it's on there to check it out, and I think people would really like it.
I was going to call Wes a sexist for not including Wonder Woman on this list, but
we're only going to make it through 4 or 5 teams and characters, man.
Wait, I thought Justice League just accompanied everyone, every member.
You can throw Wonder Woman, some Justice League Dark in there. There's some good stuff to choose from. Sadly, anything that Jeff Johns wrote was great.
Amen.
I don't know that anything, but most everything. How's that?
Yeah.
What was the biggest whiff from Jeff Johns? Dylan?
New 52 Justice League.
Ooh, good one.
I was looking so forward to that when that came out, and then it was that like Dark Side War was cool, but for the most part, a lot of that run was just not great.
I haven't liked his JSA thing that he did. In fact, I fell right off of it. Yeah.
The recent one.
Yeah, it just introduced a bunch of like
it's got delayed again.
Golden Age kid heroes.
A lot of people didn't like Three Jokers. I kind of liked it enough, but
I think Johns is checked out anyway. He's off doing Ghost Machine, so once the JSA run wraps up, that's probably it for him for a while anyway.
But do love me some Jeff Johns, and I'm loving me some Ghost Machine. Thank you so much to everyone for supporting the channel. Let's get right into it. We got to start out with Batman. If we're talking about the best DC comic stories of all time, he's the big character, and he's probably had the best individual storylines in comic book history when it comes to American comic books. Let's throw it down to you, Gabe. You're a little bit sus. Let's turn that reputation around. What is the greatest Batman comic book story of all times, according to Gabe?
I got 3. Okay. All of them are classic. All of them are not going to be a surprise for anybody who's been around comics.
Well, we don't want you to just lame them off. You name your number 1, tell us why it's great, and then we're gonna argue with you.
I'm going to start off with Batman Year One, and the reason I'm going to start off with that is because that was the story that really kind of set the pace for a more modern version of Batman, a Batman who felt, in the weirdest sort of way, realistic and grounded. You really got the sense of the kind of what Bruce Wayne went through to get to his training, what it was like those first days when Gotham City was a sort of a grimy, seedy version of a northern New Jersey analog or a New York City analog type of city. And then you have this guy comes in dressed like a weirdo Batman, and everybody's trying to react to it. The police are reacting to him. You see a version of Catwoman, and it all starts to come together. It feels very urban. It feels very authentic to that sort of cityscape from a city, because I was born and raised in Brooklyn. So I kind of have that feel and sensibility of what it was like to be there. And he captured all of it. So that's where I'm going with Year One as the first pick. Second pick, because it kind of comes from the era where I really fell in love with.
Talk about Year One.
Oh, okay. All right.
Year One's fantastic. You can't go wrong with that. That is easily in my
opinion. Can't go wrong with Year One. Can't go wrong with Year One.
You can't go wrong with Frank Miller and Mazzucchelli together.
I can't argue. Yeah, there's nothing to argue with Year One. Like, I don't know how you can think about Batman without thinking about Year One. And like, whenever I think of Frank Miller, that's really the book that I think of more than anything else. And even like I remember reading Year One and Dark Knight Returns like back to back, and it's kind of cool because they feel like sequels, or like they're it's the same kind of like Batman. It's the same Batman because it's Frank Miller. But like I prefer Year One over Dark Knight Returns. Mostly I think probably because of Mazzucchelli, but like I just think the story is just tighter and it feels a lot more like grounded, and it just has more of an atmosphere that pertains to my taste. Like I really like the way that everything is laid out in Year One. And also, I mean, not only just because of Batman, but because of Jim Gordon and everything that Gordon goes through in the book, and kind of seeing how he's having to deal with the corruption in Gotham. And I mean, it's really like the definitive Batman story in a lot of ways, because it basically creates the foundation for everything we really love about Batman. It really reinvented the character in ways that I think Dark Knight Returns did, but I think Year One kind of perfected it.
Also, if you think cinematically, if you look at the Nolan trilogy and also the recent reboot of the Batman, they borrow so heavily from that book. So that sticks out because it has a cinematic quality that people still remember and can carry forward into the films and newer interpretations.
Yeah, it's weird that Dark Knight Returns really seems to overshadow Year One, because I think Year One is the more perfect story.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's because of the Batman fight Superman, and that's just like more exciting to people. But I think as a story as a whole, it's just Year One like takes the cake for me.
Very nice. All right, Jim, we're ready for some bad recommendations. What do you think is great about Batman? What's the best story you read?
Well, it is Year One, and Gotham War and Mariko Tamaki's Tower story is my pick. Year One I love, and it is more even because of Gordon, and the Gordon part is my favorite Gordon deal as well. And I do like Gordon. I like when he is struggling and showing how good he is, but that is a more realistic take. It ended up feeling right. But I have a side pick that I don't know if I don't think people will be mad about it, but it's just something that I read when I first started reading Batman, and it's Batman Legends of the Dark Knight 16 to 20 by Denny O'Neil. It's the Venom story.
I'm curious. Batman, how could you even do this, Jim?
Yes. How dare me? I love that story. It was one of the big things, and in it, Batman ends up taking Venom. He gets an experimental Venom because he had a girl that ended up dying, and he failed to save her life, and he needed to up the game, and he just gets addicted to Venom, and it's really good. But the other one would be like 10 Nights of the Beast. I love KG Beast, and that story is really, really good and ends so well. And then they had to, retro do it that he didn't end up killing KG Beast, because he doesn't kill, but he ended up walling him up in the sewers. But I thought that was a really, really good story as well.
Yeah, it's weird that a lot of people, when they think about Batman and modern Batman, they only kind of think about Frank Miller, and they kind of don't realize Denny O'Neil was the guy that was really behind all of that. He had already started introducing or reintroducing all those Batman villains that had turned kind of goofy because of the Adam West stuff, really supercharged and make him villainous again. And obviously, he was the group editor for all the Frank Miller stuff too. But you can't go wrong with Denny O'Neil Batman.
Yeah, Denny O'Neil's so good. And Jim Starlin had a short run, but almost every part of his run was huge and still has ramifications, today. A lot of the stuff.
I say the Joker as an Ayatollah still stands up.
That's awesome. The Ayatollah rock and roller. When you have him like going around with the Ayatollah, and it's just insane.
Like scuds and shit.
Oh my God! It's so cool. But yeah, it's amazing because you don't ever hear, like when they say greatest writers of Batman, you don't really hear a lot of people saying Jim Starlin right away. Like I said, he had such a short run compared to a lot of others, but almost every story is huge. So I do like those.
We got any more big Batman stories? I know Eric's waiting to jump in here with something really obscure.
I have something obscure. I got this one. This is Detective Comics 535, cover dated from February of 1984. It is the first appearance in tech of Jason Todd as Robin. I am 11 years old when this comes out. And look, it opens up kind of starting the way it ends in his story. There's Batman holding, a prone, the lifeless Robin. But I got this taken away from me in school. I brought it to school with me, and I was reading it during class, and the teacher took it away from me.
Being disruptive.
And I was being disruptive or not paying attention to my, and my mother found out, and dude, she threw out all my comic books too. Dude, this happened to me. Yeah, this is a real story. But this is.
Did you forgive her?
Yeah, so over time I did. Oh. And then by middle school, I was allowed to start collecting them again. Or she realized that he keeps buying them, and. But yeah, my mom threw out all my comic books once because I was distracted in school. So like everything I had up until like the age of 11 or 12 was in the garbage pile. I saw the kids picking through it on Wednesday on garbage day, and here in the projects of South Boston. But this was the comic book that started that. Yeah, and so this will always be one of my favorite comic books. It's one of the first. It's Crazy Quilt, thinking that Jason Todd is Dick Grayson and going after him with lethal force, and it's one of Jason Todd's first adventures as Robin. Yeah.
You are the only guy that's going to bring up a Batman Crazy Quilt story.
Dude, this is a good one. And because it's important to a best of all time to me. And because it's got such a cool story behind it, and that I was reunited with it as well. And I found it at in my long box at my local comic book shop, But speaking of Jason Todd, this is a really good issue. It's a single standalone story. And it is one of the best Batman comics of all time. And you might not even know about it. It is from 1988. It is Batman 424. Again, another Jason Todd story. This time, like it says a couple of years later, 88, I'm 15 years old, still buying comic books. This is great. This is the one where did he or didn't he? Did Jason push the ambassador's son off the balcony?
The answer is he did.
Must have slipped. You know what I mean? But this thing's actually pretty violent, and this is Jim Starlin. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah,
we were just talking about it
for Death in the Family.
We got Jim Starlin. We got Doc Bright, and who just passed away, and great art. 2 issues before the Death of the Family starts in issue 426. So this is one of my picks. It's Batman 424 from the 75.
Batman thought he
era.
couldn't trust him anymore.
Yeah, This is like when you start really noticing like how Jason might deserve what's coming to him. And then after this came the ads. You could save Robin's life. You know what I mean? And the phone number and everything. Yeah. But it's really hard.
Jason Todd, he's your Robin?
Kind of. Well, I was a kid. I was like 10 or 11 years old. And then there's I love Robin, and I love that he was now Nightwing. And so, but then we have this new Robin who's closer to my age. And so it's like, it was really cool.
Also a troublemaker, right?
Well, in the beginning, he wasn't. We've been talking about Frank Miller and Batman Year One, but also right around that time, post-Crisis, that's when we had the new Jason Todd origin with boosting the tires off of the Batmobile in Crime Alley.
Yeah.
And before that, Jason Todd was a good kid. He was basically a Dick Grayson knockoff. Yeah, exactly. So that's but I brought Batman, specifically Dark Knight Falls Part 4. Dude, I was 13 years old. You can only get this at the local comic book shop, not on the spinner rack. It was $2.95 at the time, and that's about $9 today.
That's a lot of lawns.
There were 4 of these, and it took forever for them to come out. Nobody remembers that about delays. No, we always remember the collection. This is the single issue version, and it's just, for me, it's on a different. This was revolutionary. It was on, different paper stock. The colors were just popping. I had never seen, and no one had ever seen a Batman like this before. Batman like this was new at once. Yeah. And so that was a really interesting time to be a comic book collecting kid, 13 years old, and this comes out. Good time, man.
And I'll throw in another issue. It doesn't really have Batman, but I'm sure Sully will like it. It's Batman 416 when Dick Grayson gave Jason Todd his costume, when he actually went and met with them, and they kind of, he was good with it then, and it was an awesome issue as well.
That is an awesome.
So many good Batman stories.
There are so many greatest Batman stories. I'm glad we're all here to remind each other.
The best of that issue with Batman is like watching from a distance from so creepy, like watching there, like peering in to see them get along, and they shake hands and Batman smiles. So that was pretty awesome.
Everybody likes to talk about like the Court of Owls and stuff with Scott Snyder. It's certainly a good story. I still think the Black Mirror is better.
Yeah, I do too.
That movie like left me feeling nauseous at the end of it when you have the reveal that all that stuff got into Gotham's water supply. There's a good chance that a bunch of kids are going to end up as sociopaths, and there's nothing they can do about it at the end.
Oh man, I thought that cutting open the orca and having the stripper fall out of it was just one of the most. Wow! Look at that page. Look what that just happened. Like in a Batman book. That's so noir. That's so creepy. You know, man, they nailed it. That was just that image.
That's Jock too, right?
I think
yeah. Jock is on the modern art, and then it's Francesco Francavilla on the flashbacks.
Yeah,
good stuff. Pretty book. I love Black Mirror.
I can't understand why they keep trying to like make Jim Gordon Jr. a good guy after that.
Yeah,
great bad guy.
You can't do that. That was the whole point of the story.
Yeah, sons and opposite numbers, and Jim Gordon Jr. not needing a mask. You know what I mean? He didn't need a code name. He was kind of just evil personified in a way. Just something that was just really good balance between.
Like the cannibal kid from Sin City. But in a Batman book. Yeah, he was messed up. All right, Dylan, you're the new school guy. I'm imagining you're going for some Tom King Batman.
You just said what my pick was, which was Black Mirror, but I guess I'll switch it up. I'll go for a more controversial pick then. I'll go for Hush. I liked Hush a lot. Hush, I think, is one of the best books that DC books that Jim Lee was involved with, because if you notice, like every book Jim Lee gets on, it's just ass. No really fault to Jim Lee, but he always makes it look good. Yeah, but like he tends to not get the best DC books. But I loved Hush. I'm a huge Riddler fan, so I love the reveal of Riddler at the end. I know a lot of people didn't like also the little reveal with Catwoman at the end when she says Hush and Batman didn't trust her. I thought that was awesome. I thought that was cool. And then it set up Heart of Hush later, which was really cool. I love how it systematically goes through each villain. It's like, oh, this guy, Riddler, got captured in the beginning. You know, he's trying to rob an armored truck. Couldn't be him. It couldn't be this guy. Who's Hush? And then it's Tommy Elliott. You get that whole reveal, his sort of reverse Batman, where he's like, I killed my parents because I wanted what they had. It's such a cool dynamic there. I love Hush, and it's one of the prettiest books you'll ever read as well, and it's just so cool. And I love that end with Riddler when he reveals everything and just goes through it all. I think Hush is such a cool book.
So you think Hush is a better Batman book from Jeff Loeb than Long Halloween and Dark Victory?
Long Halloween's probably better, but like I said, I'm going more controversial here, so I'm going with Hush. I'll go with Hush. Long Halloween's probably better.
I accidentally read Heart of Hush first. I ended up where
Heart of Hush is great.
Yeah, I was getting stuff from our library, and this is even before like I officially like really started reading. And I saw it. I'm like, oh, check this out. I'm reading. I'm like, all right, I don't know what's going on here. But then eventually, went and read Hush. But they only had Heart of Hush at the library, so I grabbed it. It's kind of weird.
What's your feelings on Long Halloween and Dark Victory, Jim? I think Dark Victory's better because of Robin.
I do as well, but Long Halloween, it's tough. And awesome. I was thinking while we were going through this, like, you could legitimately have a whole show on just Batman. You could go through the Batman deal. And it's one of those things. I mean, I'm not, mind bending anybody here. Yeah, there are so many like stories that we haven't even said. And then there's even some that people are talking about that are more Justice League, but they're Batman Senate. Like there's so much. But Long Halloween.
Alan Moore yet.
Yeah, exactly. And like Long Halloween was one of those where when I did read it, and I was reading a ton, just kind of, everything happened. And again, I started with the New 52. And so then I'm reading some back things. And so each story was like, oh my God, this, like, if you would have went and talked to me at the point, every story that I was reading then is like, this is the best favorite. Ever. This is the best ever. Oh my God, Long Halloween, Killing Joke, all that stuff. But Long Halloween actually kind of stuck with me a bit more than a lot of them, and Dark Victory as well. And a lot of the stories that I ended up reading then, catapulted me off to other characters and things like that. That was, pretty awesome.
And what's the one that's basically all about Gotham? It's like Batman City something.
I don't know.
Forget the name.
Are you talking about the recent one from Dan Waters?
No, I'm talking about something from like the 90s.
Gotham Central?
No, Gotham Central is pretty good too.
That stuff's good.
Side deal, yeah.
That's its own. I think Batman side spin-off's got to be its own,
But it's the best story ever about Gotham and just how evil and disgusting and corrupt it is, and it's just vile and people, just so many bad things happening. it's not so much. I mean, it's a Batman book. It's more Gotham centric, which I thought was really, really good. But I'm forgetting the name right now. Nandor, did you get into your favorite Batman story? What are you going with?
You know, yeah, you guys have mentioned a lot of them, but I wanted to kind of springboard off
City of Pride. That was it. My bad.
Okay, yeah.
What Jim, you know, talking about Jim Starlin and all the things that he was able to do with Batman in the short amount of time he was on Batman. And I actually read Batman the Cult just recently, and it really wowed me. I wasn't expecting to be as impressed as I was with it, and not just because, I mean, Bernie Wrightson's art's just like incredible, but like Jim Starlin, the way he's able to kind of get in the headspace of the character is really impressive. And I really loved Deacon Blackfire as a villain. I also feel like, you know, it's probably everyone's least favorite Nolan film, but The Dark Knight Rises, I think took a lot from Batman the Cult when it comes to how they kind of took over Gotham. If you think about like Bane, what he did in Dark Knight Rises, like I feel like there's a lot of things that kind of came out cinematically in The Dark Knight Rises that the Cult really originated and that it came from. And it's just like a really kind of psychedelic, kind of crazy 80s story that was really cool. Like I was reading it, I was just like, man, this is really putting Batman in a position where he feels like he can't win. And that's really interesting because, you know, he always thinks he can win. He thinks he can kind of outwit the villain. And so putting him in that position and making him kind of like, you know, get to a point where he has to actually evacuate Gotham and leave his city behind, only to come back and, you know, really take it over. But seeing that amount of failure, like him experience that in a story, was really cool. And I thought it did something with the character that I don't see happen a lot of the time. So you know, kind of if you love, you know, Death in the Family, if you love Jim Starlin, like definitely read the Cult, Batman the Cult, because I mean they're awesome additions too. They look really cool, but it's just a really great Batman story that kind of stretches what Batman can do and kind of brings him to the kind of the breaking point in a lot of ways. So I would say that one. I wanted to bring that one up, but I also wanted to bring up kind of a more obscure Batman story that Alan Moore wrote. It's not The Killing Joke, but it's Batman Annual number 11, I believe, and it's a story about Clayface falling in love with a mannequin.
That was a great story. Yeah.
It is such a good story, such a great story. And I think it's only, you know, maybe, you know, it's under 20 pages. It's maybe like 14 or 16 pages or something. It is just so engrossing and entertaining. And it's, you know, it's one of the best Clayface stories. And I just think it's a really great, you know, Alan Moore story for the character. I did want to ask you guys, you know, what your thoughts are on The Killing Joke, because I think for me, like my opinion has changed, like as I've kind of reread it and gone over it, and maybe it's because people have put so much stock into it, like it's kind of like, you know, it kind of became something maybe it wasn't supposed to, but I think it's one of Alan Moore's weakest stories, in my opinion.
I thought it was great when I first read it. Again, when I was reading it, but I'm with you. As it's gone on, I've read more and kind of went back and reread it. I still like it. I think it's good, but I do think it gets
very shocking.
It gets and it just it just, and nothing about like the actual stuff in the shock and whatnot. It ends up not really being anything that I'm real interested anymore. I kind of, and a lot of times you'll read other stories and they're trying to like outdo it as well, and that kind of waters it down a bit too over the years. But with everything else, I still think it's good, but it wouldn't be near my top at all.
Right. It's well put together.
Trying to do Killing Joke stories for all the villains.
I'll tell you that Clayface story though, everybody should read it. It's so good. It's just one issue, and it's so good in just those couple pages. It's awesome.
Killing Joke, I think, is a great story. There are some shocking moments to it that sort of feel a little bit outside of what a typical Batman story would have. But at the same time, I prefer Killing Joke in the same way I prefer The Dark Knight, which is I wish it would stay out of continuity. I wish they would kind of be their own thing on the separate and just say, This is just sort of a different flavor, a different take. If you want to call it Black Label, call it whatever you want, because and almost silently, I curse those stories, both Killing Joke and Dark Knight, and also and Watchmen as well, is because there are too many, especially in the modern generation of writers, there are too many writers that try to emulate that style and try to pull that into continuity and try to be like, well, that's the high bar. That's the high bar for what that story is as an out of continuity story for a very different aesthetic and a very different take. Right. It's not the mainline Batman, or at least trying to work it in with the main. You get so much contradictory
it only works
feelings
as a
and
separate.
tones.
Yeah. And so, when the thing that I was thinking too, once you get that initial shock, I think that's what gets you that first time, and then going back and rereading it without being shocked, it kind of ends up, hey, it's not as good as I thought. It's shocking, but hey, you get past that. It's still good, but not the best, I think.
Well, because Batman seems kind of dumb in Killing Joke. He reaches over. He's like, "Where is he?" He's got the powder on his hands.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He's been talking to a dupe for how many pages? But I mean, that Brian Boland art, it just elevates the story.
Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing. All that stuff was that was the face of DC's marketing. What happens the year after Killing Joke? 1989, Tim Burton's Batman. I mean, I was 15, 16 years old, and I bought Killing Joke off the stands when it came out. And it was good. It had that I'm sorry to say, that gut punch. Oh, but I'm punch. And there was and you had a funny punchline at the end too. So it was well written. But
yes.
I like it that as an adult, there's some layers to pull back from that. Especially when it comes to its Elseworlds, where does it fit? Should Barbara have ended up as Oracle? Should that ever have been counted as continuity? Well, that was just, how did that become continuity? It's just like, was it this nebulous thought of our collective fandom and our knowledge of this character? Like, well, I guess this is where we go with Barbara now. It's interesting.
There's a really cool story that J. Michael Straczynski wrote as a part of his Brave and the Bold run that he did, I think, in the early to mid 2000s. And there's a particular issue where it's about Barbara still as Batgirl, and goes out. It takes place like the same day that the Joker is gonna shoot her, and she becomes crippled. But Zatanna and Wonder Woman take her out for like a girls' night out or whatever, because I think Zatanna, one of them gets a vision of what's going to happen to Barbara Gordon, and they know that they can't change it, they can't fix it. And it's a really like great story, because it's kind of like about inevitability and how you have to be there for your friends no matter what. And it's a really interesting, it's like one of those stories that would only exist because of the Killing Joke, and I find that to be really interesting and see that. But it's a really, really great story about Barbara Gordon.
All right, Gabe, you had a couple other ones in there. Did we end up covering all the other Batman books you wanted to talk about?
You had a couple more, Gabe, right?
Yeah, I had two more, but I'll do them quick because I think they're intuitive for their own reasons. The first one, I should say the second one I'm going to pick is Knightfall.
Cool.
Even though some people have their misgivings about the up and downs of it, the reason I like it is because it sort of brought in the character of Azrael. That's where you first get that introduction. It really elevates Bane as a Class A threat for Batman, and also it gives you this idea of what happens to Gotham City when Bruce Wayne can't be Batman anymore, and somebody has to step in and take his place. And he doesn't try to be Batman. He tries to be a more brutal, a more vicious version of Batman, for people saying, well, why can't Batman just put the bad guys down for good? Well, now we have an example of you doing that without truly taking Batman fully away. Now, eventually he recovers from the back injury and what have you, so that's fine. And all the spin-offs and all the things that happen as well, plus the sort of iconic Batman getting his back broken by Bane, so everybody remembers that image. The third one I'm going to remember, which doesn't get a lot of play, but I think it has a lot of importance in the mythology, is Son of the Demon. And the reason I bring that up is because it really digs deep into establishing the relationship between Batman, Ra's al Ghul, and Talia, and that whole Nanda Parbat kind of part of his background and of his development history into becoming Batman. Plus, if you're keeping score, technically speaking, that's the very first appearance of Damian Wayne. At the very last end, I mean, that little baby, that's Damian. So I think there's a lot to like in that issue. It's not perfect, and it's more of a graphic novel. It's not, in the single issue series, but because it has so much presence in the development of that character going forward, especially with his complicated relationship with Ra's al Ghul, that sets the stage for what happens for many years later, especially the introduction of Damian.
Absolutely. There's so many good Batman stories. We didn't even get into Under the Red Hood, Strange Apparitions. I still like Battle for the Cow. Like we could literally do
Battle for the
4 or 5
Cow.
hours.
Good.
Blind Justice.
Absolutely.
Blind Justice every day.
Pop Sequentialism says you could do all Vertigo, Sandman, Shade, Fables. Yeah, Animal Man, Doom Patrol. I still think
Hellblazer.
Saga the Swamp Thing from Alan Moore is like the best DC run of all time.
Anything before Andy Curry.
Good call.
Absolutely. You got to get the Karen Berger era of Vertigo. It was just fired all cylinders. Oh man, they discovered a lot of good talent there too. Brandon says Chip tried to add classics and fails miserably. He's certainly been digging into a lot of fucking Grant Morrison. And I don't really like Grant Morrison's Batman. I like his Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Did you get to read that last issue, Batman 148, Dylan?
No, I've dropped off. I've not been a fan of Darcy's number Batman. Yeah, I dropped off after like the first bit, and then I came
like
back.
Failsafe, but
I hate Failsafe. I think Failsafe's so lame.
Is he the Batman who laughs for you?
Yes.
I hate the Batman who laughs.
Except I think Failsafe was never cool. I thought the Batman who laughs was cool at first and overstayed his welcome. I thought Failsafe was lame from like the get-go.
Yeah.
What about Tim's new outfit?
Yeah, that's weird.
I mean, I'm the opposite. I liked Failsafe from jump. I thought he was I thought he was good in the sense that we always talk about how Batman can beat anybody if he's given enough time to plan and strategize. And so now you have an adversary who gives him no time to plan and strategize, and he's relentless and brutal. It's very much a Terminator kind of story. So I think there was a lot of potential there, but yeah, 148 completely whiffed every potential of that character. It's a shame.
Nerd says, I hate how Batman Forever clearly wrote Jason Todd, but named him Dick Grayson for audiences. Go back and watch that movie and tell me that's not Jason. So I haven't seen Batman Forever since I think I was 12. Like the only time I saw it. It was such a bad movie. I never wanted to see it again. That's the one with Arnold is Mr. Freeze and all that, right?
I kind of agree with that just a little bit. I mean, we still kept the acrobats and Haley Circus, but I mean, I think maybe that came from the animated series where it's like that Dick Grayson went after Tony Zuko and wanted revenge, and then the real Dick Grayson that we love and know came through, and he was like, "No, you're gonna get justice, not my revenge."
Amalgamation.
No, that's not right. Batman Forever is the one with Riddler and Two-Face.
Yeah, and first appearance of
wait, that one's not as bad because I thought Jim Carrey's The Riddler was really good, actually.
Yeah. Yes.
And what's his dick as Two-Face was way over the top and kind of funny.
Well, behind the scenes is that they hated each other. Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey hated each other's guts. Yeah. Well, it's mainly more Tommy Lee Jones hating Jim Carrey.
I can see that. Tommy Lee Jones, very serious actor, even though he's in a comic book movie, wants Jim Carrey to take it seriously.
Yeah, he was apparently not a fan.
I think I've seen Batman Forever a couple of times. Then I think I watched it again, like on TNT once. But it's been a while. I haven't really gone back and revisited the Batman '89 movies in a long time. Do they still hold up, Dylan? You probably discovered them like 10 years ago.
Batman '89 does. I think Batman Returns sucks. I know a lot of people love it. I think '89's good. I think Returns sucks. And I think Batman Robin, Batman Forever are also not very good. But it's been a while since I've seen Forever.
Batman and Robin, that's the really bad one.
Yeah, that's the one with Freeze and
Poison
Ivy. Yeah.
That's all
Alicia
better
Silverstone.
than that all blows Matt Reeves, the Batman, away. I mean, that's for me, that at least I can agree with like most people. That one was the stinker. I mean, thank you. You made like Uma Thurman look great and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
All the
Definitely
great.
like there's like a weird like rewatchability to those movies because you're just like I don't know, they're so colorful and they're so poppy and they're so like what's like zany, they're just like interesting to kind of see how they put it together. But it's not like growing up, I watched because I'm the same age as Dylan, and like I was watching those, and there was something just really like as a kid that I was like, ooh, flashy, it's like interesting. But as I got older, it's just it's very those movies are so, I don't know, they're kind of a weird anomaly. It's like, how did these get made?
They're not really
Batman and Robin is clearly channeling Batman 66 in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
they're
right.
trying to get to that goofy vibe. But I gotta admit, I loved Freeze's costume. I like the armored suit. It's like so bulky and it has that sort of like intimidating feel, partly because Arnold is huge, so you had to make it big. But at the same time, I think it worked for the kind of character they were creating.
Yeah, and I still, to this day, I still find Val Kilmer, like I really like him as Bruce Wayne. I think he's a great Bruce Wayne.
He's a great Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Please, oh come on, guys!
Wow.
It's a lot of Batman creators' favorite Bruce Wayne. Not favorite Batman, but favorite Bruce Wayne.
Crazy. Matt Fisher. For me, it's a toss-up between Grant Morrison's World War III and Green Lantern Rebirth. Reviewed. That is what brought me fully back into comics after I play varsity in high school. Video games in high school plays. Love the show, but I wonder if Doc is an AI. Doc is not an AI. I've seen Doc's face. We've had conversations. He is a living, breathing person. I don't think you could make an AI as angry as Doc. I don't think the AI would take. I think it would probably self-terminate. But no, Doc is great. He'll be back next week, and he's certainly not an AI. But I do love Green Lantern Rebirth. I think that's the beginning of an amazing trilogy. If you read Green Lantern Rebirth, Sinestro Corps War, finish it up with Blackest Night, and you have an amazing Green Lantern story that should be made into a movie trilogy.
Ooh.
But I'm not the world's biggest Grant Morrison fan either. I will admit that. He's very hit or miss. More miss than hit with me. Nobody? All right. Matt Fisher, I'm sorry my phone autocorrect sucks. Enjoy my money. Well, it's okay. Autocorrect does
Huzzah.
Yeah. Nerd says, coming from animation, movie, games only background to Batman growing up, I never got the Killing Joke after reading it. It felt like it was overhyped and meh.
There was some overhype, but I think it came more through Brian Boland made all those Joker images, especially the ha 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 one. That was so marketable. That was then came the year after that came the Batman boom. Batman in '89. If I lived it and I was into it, and it was T-shirts and Happy Meals, and it was constant marketing, and there were videos. Prince did an album, a soundtrack. Prince Bat Dance. Look it up. It's hilarious.
We're all about the Batman trading cards,
dude. I mean, and it was just
what a
then we got the animated series after that as some kind of reward because it kept that Art Deco, feel to it. This noir thing. It was a great time to be a Batman fan. And but
I'll be off pitch and say I did not like Prince's soundtrack. I think it did. I think it didn't fit the film. I did not think it fit the style and the gothic tone that Burke was going for. I thought it was too silly and too poppy.
What about Seal? Seal had his great song for Batman.
Kiss from a Rose.
Yeah, Kiss from a Rose. I like that song. Yeah. I think it had more of it hit on the romance beats. It hit on the romance beats, which was what they were going for. Yeah, I didn't like Prince's soundtrack. I mean, you kind of get used to it, but at the same time, I think it didn't fit the story at all.
But I mean, Joker was everywhere.
Fucking
Flash
Gordon.
Listen, That is quintessential peak soundtrack with film.
Oh, yeah. Or the Fat Boys and Crush Groove. That was good too.
But the thing about killing Joke at the end too, I mean, Joker was everywhere on T-shirts, mugs, bumper stickers, everything. I mean, just as much as Batman was. So people were really into Joker as well from Jack Nicholson's portrayal. So all of these really good Joker images were just like everywhere on T-shirts and just for a good couple of years.
Carlitos Figueroa, Wes, I think you were talking about Batman No Man's Land. I was not. I was talking about Batman City of Crime, which I think is the best comic book ever about the city of Gotham. Certainly it's a Batman story, but if you want to see how Gotham is its own character and also its own obstacle that needs to be overcome by Batman that's always kind of in his way, just the people and the culture and the sliminess of all of it. It's a fantastic story, but No Man's Land is certainly the more acclaimed story, and everyone likes No Man's Land.
When did City of Crime come out? When was that?
I think it was in the 90s, but I will do a little Google search.
Was that a part of like the main Batman line, or was it Detective Comics or
David Lapham, Ramon Box? Oh, actually, it's in the mid 2000s, so 2005.
Okay.
But,
okay.
It's absolutely fantastic. It encompasses issues 800 through 814 of Detective.
Okay, cool.
Definitely recommend that one, and certainly recommend No Man's Land. Everyone likes that story as well. Steve McDakel. As far as Batman goes, I love Grant's Shad owning the Batman run, particularly the 4-part Clayface story.
I haven't read that one.
Must be shadowing, right?
Shadow of the Bat.
Oh, the Shadow of the Bat run. That was from like 89, 90. And
freaking autocorrect, you know?
Yeah.
It was throwing me off.
I get you. I got you back here.
So you're a big fan of the Shadow of the Bat run on Grant Morrison?
That was coming out at the time, like when I was talking about people being bat crazy in 89, like 90. When did that come out? Shadow of the Bat. Let me look this up. Morrison. I think it was like 80. It had like this like pink cover. Was that?
I'm not the world's biggest Clayface fan, though. You know.
No, that was Legends. I'm thinking Legends of the Dark Knight. I'm sorry.
Clayface, when Clayface gets overused, it gets annoying.
But I like Clayface. The reveal of whatever didn't actually happen.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And I remember when I first started reading again the New 52, and I think it wasn't Detective. It was Batman. I forget what it was, but there was a Clayface story. But it was basically everything that happened, like Gordon was being a jerk to Batman, and then Batman would punch him. Oh my! And it was Clayface, and then it was always Clayface, Clayface. And it was like, oh really? I think it was the Dark Knight book in the New 52, which I did not enjoy that much. But yeah, but there's you could do the thing with Clayface, like which Clayface, because there's a bunch of them. But as you go, like. It's one of those
baby Clayface.
Yeah, well, yeah, they even added more. And even when at one point they had Cassius, and it was like Cassius Clay was kind of the joke of it. But when you have them, it's one of those where you don't hear a lot of people arguing who their favorite Clayface is, because kind of just Clayface, but different backgrounds and different things going. They do have differences within them, but it's not one of those that I hear people arguing about a lot.
I think Mark Miller has a better version of Clayface. With what is its name?
Oh yeah, Shithead.
Shithead, yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's the best.
They collected the feces
of 600.
The fecal output of the 66 most villainous people in the history of the world.
Yep, that is the best.
No, the best. I mean, for me, the best appearance of Clayface is his first appearance in Batman the Animated Series with as Matt Hagen. Yeah, I think that one just worked the best because it was just so dramatically presented as a tragedy of somebody who's trying to be better, trying to do better, and now he's in this accident that turns him into a freak, and he just goes crazy from it. And I think that's probably the best appearance we're ever going to get.
Sleeve McDakel, Grant Morrison's JLA is much better than his Batman. Also, Peter David's Aquaman is underrated. Grant Morrison does have a really good Justice League of America run.
Agree.
Is that his best DC work? Might be. Although, I mean, you still got to count, Animal Man and the stuff he did for Vertigo.
Animal Man.
Certainly, his Doom Patrol might be his high watermark. Actually,
I like his multiversity stuff. So he knows, and his DC 1 million stuff. So I think Grant Morrison just knows how to play with the action figures in the DC toy box.
His JLA
Not
is his
Green
best.
Lantern. He doesn't
It's
know how
his
to
best
play with
mainstream
so
stuff.
bad.
Man.
The JLA is Morrison's best mainstream, mainline continuity stuff. He does really great with things that are sort of weird and on the side. But if you're like a straight true blue story, JLA from Morrison is his best stuff.
Yes.
I don't normally go out seeking Aquaman, so I don't know about Peter David's Aquaman. Am I missing out here? Does it need to go on the list?
It's really good.
It's a good story for sure.
That's the camouflage suit, right?
It could be. I'm telling you, it has all that runs together. But reading it, it really is. It's really good. And again, there's some of those characters that when you think of like what is the best run and things like that, some of them it's kind of iffy all around. But Peter David's Aquaman is really good.
Very nice. Kalichi Oki says the best books for me are Nightfall, The Long Halloween, Dark Victory, Year One, Death in the Family, and Hush. Chuck Dixon and Tim Sale just understand the character so well. So all those but Hush would definitely be in my list, along with a few other ones. I mean, not that Hush is bad. Hush looks amazing.
Right. I mean, do you think Hush is for a new reader? Like they're redoing Hush in that compact format. I saw that come out this week. But
I don't think
badass art.
I don't think Hush would have the same level of memorability if it wasn't for Jim Lee. Yeah. If it was a different artist or just somebody else, just some whoever, I don't think it would get as much play as it does today.
I don't know. Do you think Hush was supposed to originally be Jason Todd? It had to have been, right?
No.
The original tease.
Maybe.
No, Jeff Loeb's a good writer. He thought of that stuff, but he left it open for he gives a great tease that we were all hungry for. So Jason Todd's best outfit is that Hush outfit that Hush adopted. But I'm like, I wish Jason Todd kept that the black outfit with the R, and it's just like he could be like he should be Black Robin. You're gonna have a Red Robin. You're gonna have all your Robins, man. Have a nest. I mean, that would have been cool.
Like Taste the Rainbow. We can have the Skittle Robin.
Skittles, yeah.
Oh no.
I like M&M's.
They all lie on the emotional spectrum. All that kind of stuff. We can have the Scott
Robin.
Snyder introducing the ultraviolet Robin that you can't see. It'll be fun. Scott Snyder. I like Scott Snyder, but man, some of his ideas just suck.
The ultraviolet lantern was
Dark
terrible.
Knight's metal, right? The ultraviolet Robin.
Mm-hmm. The ring that wasn't a ring; it was a tattoo on Jon Stewart, and then kind of disappeared.
Oh, this dong. Ugh. Matt Fisher says, "Scratch my earlier jibber jabber. Top 5 for me: Animal Man, Grant Morrison; Swamp Thing, Scott Snyder; Doom Patrol, Grant Morrison; Mark Waid's Flash run; Jeff Johns' entire Green Lantern run. Enjoy more of my money." Well, I do appreciate supporting the channel, and those are very, 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 very good runs. That Grant Morrison Green Lantern run is fantastic. I'm sorry, Jeff Johns Green Lantern run is fantastic.
Clip that real quick.
Flip.
I mixed that one up. But I still think I love Swamp Thing, but I just think the
Alan Moore.
The Alan Moore Swamp Thing run is the best DC story I've ever read. Like still the one issue, the anatomy lesson.
Anatomy lesson,
yeah.
There was
illustrated
so
issue
cool
comic ever.
what they were doing with Swamp Thing and Animal Man with the New 52 and like Rot World and all of that stuff, like with Jeff Lemire doing Animal Man, like that was really exciting. That was some of the best New 52 stuff, was kind of seeing those characters interact and getting these two great writers and these artists on those two books. It was like really, really cool stuff.
There's also a little bit of a callback to that in his Swamp Thing Black Label book he did that came out last year, I think.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Green Hell or whatever. I forget.
Yeah.
What is it called? Yeah.
That was Lemire.
Yeah.
And it was a sort of future, the end of all things kind
Did
of.
that thing ever end?
Doug Mankey. It did. It took forever for the issue 2 and 3.
There was a big gap between issues 1 and 2. I mean, like 6 months. It was a long time.
Yeah.
I don't think I finished it.
No,
I
actually, I think
read
it was
through that
longer.
too.
I think it was closer to a year between the
Yeah.
first and second issues. It was long.
Yeah. It was a long
Yeah.
time for
It
some
was
reason.
it was great story. It was better than what Ron V was writing at the same time.
That was difficult. Although Ram V's Swamp Thing Future State two-parter is phenomenal. It's a fantastic story. You did
I
not get the ongoing.
The ongoing was terrible.
I
But
did.
yeah, Mark Waid's Flash Run
there was
certainly.
there was a thing about Swamp Thing here, but there was that winter special that Tom King and Jason Babbitt did. That was
the best thing he's ever done at DC
absolutely-
Comics.
Yeah.
I hated that so much. I'm the only one who hated it, I guess.
Oh, really?
At one point, he's trying to tap into the green, says he can't because it's winter. There are trees everywhere, green out the wazoo, and I cannot feel the green.
The trees
And
were
it's just all
hibernating,
over.
Jim.
No, they
Give
were
up the
not. They were there.
science.
They were evergreen trees, and they were right there in the panel. And he's like, I can't feel anything. There's nothing. And then he had to throw in that Campbell bullshit quarterback crap that he kept going with. Tell you, I get triggered by that.
Oh no!
I think that Tom
Shouldn't brought
King's
it
one of those,
up.
because even that Up in the Sky that he did with Superman, that people are trying to grab on. Not you. I'm saying a lot. But this was good, and I think it's all garbage. I think he is awful, but that might be his best story. I'll give you that. But it drove me nuts how he dealt with the green, and I just don't think he got it.
Somebody hit one of Jim's buttons.
It's always something, right? It wakes me up. I'm wait a minute. A bell rings. Tom King. I get all upset.
Gurioki, I love Mad Love storyline, though that's not focused on Batman. Yeah, certainly that's more Harley Quinn Joker related. It was a really good cartoon. I started watching with my kids, but they made me stop. Apparently, they weren't as into Batman as they are into Blippi because they're just not older. You know what I mean? But it was fun while it lasted. A lot of good stuff in there. I need to go back and finish it, but I guess I got to wait for them to get a little bit older. The Nerd says, Callum asks, do y'all like the Sandman books, and what do you think about them?
Yes. Unequivocally, yes. There was nothing in the world like those. They've been trying to imitate that ever since. Man, that was special. It really was.
It's interesting. The Neil Gaiman Sandman stuff is what kind of broke Vertigo.
Mm-hmm.
Once he was able to do it because he had his own creator rights when he did it, they realized he could do books and he could do this and that. They're like, we're not getting our cut, so they changed their thing, and everyone went to Image after that because they wanted controlling interest in creator-owned original characters.
I want what he's got. Well, you got to earn it, seriously. I mean, because he did. I loved Sandman right at the very beginning. Between 89 and 93, Sandman, as long with Hellblazer too, that was on DC Universe. They played with superheroes. Yeah. And because in 93, that's when the Vertigo imprint starts up, and there's a kind of a break from being on Earth Prime, Earth Zero, whatever. What did we call it back then? It wasn't Earth 1985 yet, But I like the Sandman books.
Absolutely. Tommy reviews. Hail West and the Comics Aficionados. 3 of my favorite Batman books are the manga Child of Dreams, Nightcry, and the Elseworld story where Joker was a warlock and Batman was a creature. I had the book, but I don't remember the name. Does anybody remember the name of that one?
Sounds familiar, but I can't place the title.
I think we got Batman the Barbarian coming up in Elseworlds.
Nice.
That'd be pretty good.
Smallwood. Yes. Yeah.
That manga, that Child of Dreams, is really cool. It looks fantastic. That one.
Is that the one where he becomes a professional eater?
No, that is.
And he feeds Kobayashi in a hot dog contest
versus Meshi, or Meatball. I got Sully into that.
Superman versus Meshi is a joy. It is a complete joy. Yep. And it's well drawn. He's so in character. You will feel hope, the Kryptonian symbol of hope that you're wearing.
At one point, Aquaman is talking to Sushi, and they're trash talking Superman. It's hilarious. It's so good.
Oh, that sounds great.
And in that, you're not really sure if Aquaman's just insane, and that's the best part of it. It's so good. It's so.
What's
fun.
the other manga that just came out? Is it Batman Justice Buster?
That's been going on for a bit too, and that's more of a serious, like straight up story. That's okay. I like the funnier things.
It's not as good as Superman versus Meatball.
No, or the Joker I always Joker. I can't remember the name now. It's losing. That's the other one.
Oh, where he's got the baby Batman.
Right, yes, baby Batman.
Yeah.
He's raising him because he needs him to be actual Batman so that he can continue being him and the Joker. It's like one. I wish I could remember. I'm out of it now. Too much.
I think that Elseworld story he's talking about is The Wild.
Okay.
I have not read that one. Is that something I need to check out? I like Elseworlds.
Yeah, it's called Batman Dark Joker The Wild. It came out in '93.
Okay.
Very nice. I like the Batman in Wonder Woman Brave and the Bold, where they went into like Celtic lore with Liam Sharp writing and illustrating. That was a cool story too. Kalichioki, definitive Harley is mad love before they ruined her. They always ruin him, don't they?
Yeah.
We'll never get that character back.
Yeah. Sad.
It's too bad. Chris J827, hey Comics Aficionados, one of the worst Batman runs is All-Star Batman and Robin. Miller's writing was insane.
That book's so crazy.
I'm the goddamn Batman.
Feeding rats to Robin and shit, right?
My favorite part of that book is when Robin calls the Batmobile gay and Batman gets so offended. That's the best part of that book. Batman's like,
what's
so
worse
upset.
though, All-Star Batman and Robin or Superman Year One?
Superman Year One's worse because All-Star Batman and Robin is fun in how ridiculously insane it is. Superman Year One's not even fun in that.
Yeah, that's just bad. Yeah.
It becomes like
boring
a Navy
and
SEAL.
bad. And...
Yeah,
Superman become a Navy SEAL?
The only fun part of Superman Year One is the bobbleheads that Romita Jr. draws for children.
For kids.
That's the only fun part of that.
Doesn't he go down and bang a mermaid?
Yeah.
Yeah. He would have destroyed that mermaid. It didn't even feel real.
You didn't see that? Like Wonder Woman started her crush on Superman in Superman Year One, right there. Like that's how they made like their daughter and their son in future Dark Knights. You didn't see that? I love that. I thought it was cute.
A terrible story. Everyone kept trying to like that. It's starting to be a junior Frank Miller. It's great. I was like, you are out of your fucking minds. Like, stop trying to tell me this is good. This is awful. So,
yeah, I think that's where Miller was right at the peak of his addiction problems and pain problems and all that stuff. So he was really out of it at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Painting the entire room yellow and having lemonade to fight Green Lantern was just...
See, that's good. Yeah, that's inventive.
So dumb.
It worked against Jon Stewart in Cosmic Odyssey. Sorry.
Nerd says, my favorite Batman story is Heroes seeing the Fantastic Four play out in Batman Was Dark and Return of the Joker. Man.
Yeah. I'm
digging this. There's a lot of Batman stuff I still haven't read that's good. That's the problem with Batman. You could never really get through all of it.
No.
There's just so many good stories.
Maybe they should shut down DC right now and they'll be fine.
They should just start reprinting the classic Batmans.
Yeah.
Go for another 10 years.
At least they won't take a loss on it.
And Nerd says the ending line in Heroes was chilling. You don't understand. They were friends. Sure they were my friends. Sure they were. Very nice. Pop sequentialism. DeMatteis, Giffen, Maguire, Justice League. So much fun. So that's JLI, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tom King really fucked that up, didn't he?
Yes, he had some help too from Joanne Starr.
Yeah, but no one took her seriously.
Cooey. Oh god. Thanks.
Yeah, DeMatteis is fantastic. He's underrated. People only think about him for Craven's Last Hunt. He actually did a lot of really good stuff.
He is underrated. One of my picks for later, I'll just mention it now because it's DeMatteis, but his Spectre run with Ryan Sook and Hal Jordan being Spectre, that is one of the coolest and kind of like best Spectre stories that you can ever read. And Ryan Sook is amazing, but what DeMatteis is able to do with the character, especially with the new Spectre, and kind of changed the way the Spectre, Hal Jordan in particular, how he kind of acted. It wasn't necessarily about vengeance as it was more about kind of redemption, forgiveness, and it's a really, really great Spectre story that I recommend.
Mr. DC Comics, Batman the Knight by Chip Zdarsky, where he trains around the world with Ghostmaker. Damn good book. Batman White Knight and Dark Knight Returns 3. I did not like Batman the Knight. Well, I do like White Knight quite a bit. What do you think? Was Batman the Night a good book, Dylan?
It was okay. That was the one with like the queer bait. That was
Mhm.
Yeah,
it was okay. It had like it started off like kind of cool, and then I
had
just don't
really
know.
good art.
Yeah, and also I don't know who cares about Ghostmaker when Ghostmaker
Nobody.
came. I was like that. Yeah, like why are we doing this with Ghostmaker? I don't care about this.
So they
guy at all.
could develop Daniel Caprio. If you didn't read Batman 148, he ended up being the big bad guy.
Oh wow.
Do you remember Daniel Caprio?
No,
Nobody cares about that in the Caprio.
not at all.
He taught Batman how to partition out his mind and create backup personalities. That's where the
Oh, that
Batman is
guy.
Zero art came from.
Okay.
Yeah, but I do like White Knight. I think that's like one of 2 or 3 books that have been created by DC in the last 10 years that'll still be read in like 20 years. I think that one and probably Batman 3 Jokers is definitely another one. But the art in Batman White Knight, probably the best car chase scene I've ever seen in a comic book. Which I don't think it's probably harder than you imagine because it's supposed to be kinetic. You don't hear the engines and all that kind of stuff. You got to make it all happen on the page. I don't know. I don't particularly love any of the Dark Knight Returns sequels though. I don't know. Am I in the wrong there?
I didn't like the sequels as much either. The first bit was really, really good and tight, and then it just kind of got watered down as it went down to me.
I like them all. I'm weird though.
You like
it's funny because
Superman
you're
Year One.
weird, Jim.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a signature from Frank in 2022, and on the way out, I asked him, "Hey, Frank, I love your new Dark Knight stuff. Like, I love the Golden Child. I thought that was fun, and because you had Raphael Grampa's art, which I think complements that old Frank Miller style. You had the Dark Knight Returns, The Last Crusade, which has John Romita Jr. doing the Jason Todd murder. You know what I mean, as a flashback, and it's again Romita Jr.'s pencils. I feel like really fit the mood of that Dark Knight Returns world. I really liked Dark Knight 3. It had that mini comic inside of it, and it had most of the art in it was Frank Miller, and I think Andy Kubert did the yeoman's work on the book. But it was a really nice, like Silver Agey kind of, Bronze Agey kind of book. I mean, it's all nostalgia. This is all memory egg stuff. I mean, Easter egg stuff, but still, I mean, I don't know. It's made for me.
Very nice. Nerd says, why do you think Aquaman has no iconic runs?
Because he swims in his underwear, gets washed immediately.
I don't know if he doesn't have any iconic runs. I guess, the character himself, they just haven't been able to, I think like Jeff Johns, what he was able to do with Aquaman, with the trench and, the War of Atlantis, all that stuff, I think, can be considered somewhat iconic. It's just that a lot of people don't give Aquaman a chance. I think that's the big problem with him.
Yeah, it's hard to have the other part of that. A character like that.
Yeah, the other part of that too is Aquaman always gets pulled into Justice League stuff, like being part of the team, and always struggling how to make him part of that team that is very landlocked. They're drylanders, all that stuff. I think it would serve Aquaman a lot better if writers took the time to build out Atlantis more and then made that its own thing, just like Batman is very much tied to Gotham City, and Gotham City is almost its own character. If they would spend more time building out Atlantis as its own character and then seat Aquaman in there and then only bring him up when they need to, make that more of a, I need to be part of something bigger because it's something that requires all hands on deck, but just keep him down there. Stop putting him on Amnesty Bay. Stop bringing him up to deal with people like running down the street or whatever. He belongs in Atlantis. Leave him there. Build out Atlantis. Make it feel real. Make it feel expansive, and build on the trench. Build on all those things that make it really something special, and then keep him in that space, and then only pull him out when you need to. There are just too many writers are trying to pull him up on land, and he's just not interesting on land because that's not where he thrives.
Yeah, maybe it's just a lack of world building that they need to really kind of hammer home.
Adam Frey says, John Ostrander and Tom Mandrake 60-issue Spectre run wrote the DC Vertigo Edge and told a complete story of the character, never reprinted in full.
That's a character that's a shame that isn't more prevalent as a Spectre. There are so many cool, like, dark side of the DC, dark magical side of the DC universe with JL Dark and all those other things that should be more prevalent, and he's not, and that's a shame.
The Spectre should be like showing up like in everyone's comic anytime there's like a crime happening. It'd be so cool. It'd be like Uatu the Watcher or something.
Very nice. Nerd, what underrated villains do you think DC should breathe new life into? Spellbinder from Batman Beyond was brought back so well.
Villains.
Oh, man.
It's got to be Deathstroke. They've completely ruined him. He just gets his ass kicked constantly now.
Yeah, Deathstroke's lost
He's
all
dead
of
now. Yeah.
Crazy
Deathstroke.
He's Deadstroke.
No, stop that. KG Beast.
Deadshot is another one that I wish they would do a
Deadshot.
little more with now.
Deadshot, yeah.
KGB, he's
Deathlock?
kind of a joke. When KGB
Deathlock,
showed up in Batgirl, it just
Oh.
was a joke. That Castellucci, I think it was, who did it, he's just a joke now. So I'd like him to come back better.
No, Deathlock is Marvel.
Castellucci was the one trying to make Jim Gordon Jr. into a good guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fuck. No. What do you think? You got a big one besides Quote Man? Eric? Kite Man, maybe?
Kite Man, no, not Condiment. I like how all those obscure villains, though, they got some FaceTime during the whole Lego Batman craze. So we all, like, you can say to hey, you know who Kite Man is? Yeah, he's this dumb superhero, some dumb supervillain. Like, oh, breathe new life back into. I would say Reverse Flash, Ebed Thawne. He's one of my all-time favorite bad guys. He's just been he's been overused, I think, but he breathed new life because he's dead. They've like settled.
If you haven't reading Flash, dude,
he's
the
kind
guy
of
behind
in the
all
background.
of it.
Yeah, I mean, like Flash 9 by Cy Spurrier, that was the most readable issue, and then you see him like finally show up. So
Trying to do the Crown of Thorns.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. But he's one of my favorite bad guys, though.
Kalichioki. Hope you're all moved to Superman already. Also hoping to hear good Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash storylines too. Trying to get at all these books. We will get through as much as we can, sir. And we're certainly moving on to Superman next. Sleeve McDakel. My favorite Superman comic will always be the 5-part Brainiac run in Action Comics by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank.
Yes.
I read it at least once a year. Best interpretation of Brainiac and Supergirl.
So good.
That's on my list. That's a great
Oh my
story.
goodness, you stole an idea. Who's the one that redid the Brainiac where he had like the skull ship? It was coming down to Earth. Was that Denny O'Neil? I can't remember. I love that skull ship, and we're seeing it right now with House of Brainiac. I thought that was a really good design. But Jeff Johns certainly has had some really good Superman stuff, and I do think Gary Frank could be considered potentially the man that have the best pencils for Superman. Maybe not quite as iconic as a few others, but I think he is absolutely awesome anytime he illustrates Superman. And then
for a while,
For
a while, it was like when I would think of Superman, I would think of Alex Ross. But the more that I read Gary Frank and saw his Superman, like that's become how I imagine Superman now.
Yeah, I mean, I love his Superman and the Legion of the Superheroes.
Oh,
that was really good. Great action scenes. I mean, but here's all your childhood friends grown up. Like, boom.
Right.
That was fun.
Carlitos Figueroa says that Batman Detective Comics by Venditti is an awesome modern run. I don't remember that. I remember Venditti on Action Comics after Bendis left.
Maybe they made Tomasi, but that's not great either.
Tomasi had a good Detective Comics run. He had a really awesome Joker story where they're carnival with, is it Doug Minke on art?
Yep.
Yeah, that one fantastic issue. Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. But Robert Venditti could do no wrong, if you ask me. He's just fantastic on everything. But I don't remember him being on Detective Comics, but if he was, I need to go check it out. But I do remember his Action Comics run, which was pretty good, but he didn't have enough time to cook, unfortunately. He only got like 5 or 6 issues, unfortunately. Let's move on to the big Boy Scout of DC Comics. We need to get into the Superman, and we do have the world's biggest Superman fan, Dylan, so we'll let him go last, because I'm sure his list is too long. Nandor, what are you thinking when it comes to Superman? Are you going straight to Jeff Johns and Gary Frank?
No, I wanna pick something a little bit different, but what I consider to be one of the greatest Superman stories of all time. That really, in you can kind of think of it in a way that it doesn't really have Superman in it, and I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but it's going to be Superman's Secret Identity by Kurt Busiek and Stuart Immonen. It's kind of a alternate Earth or Elseworlds type of story. Yeah, there it is, where it's about this boy who loves Superman comics, and he loves the character, and he gets his powers, and you see this kind of regular human boy like become Superman, and it's there are all these kind of coincidental things about his life and things that he kind of falls into that kind of parallel Clark Kent's journey. And not only is the story very heartfelt, very powerful, very touching and moving, and a great like coming of age kind of Superman tale, but Stuart Immonen's work is the best that it's ever been in that book. It's absolutely a transcendent work of art. I believe it to be one of Kurt Busiek's best stories just of all time, but one of the greatest Superman stories of all time. And there's a lot to it that if you just sit down and read it, the amount of character work that Kurt Busiek does with this person, and how it's able to really bring home the inspiration that Superman gives people, and then the kind of hero that Superman is and how it inspires people. This is what that book does. I mean, it's kind of everything you love about Superman. And that's what makes it so special. Everything you love about it, even though we don't get the actual Clark Kent in the book, he's everywhere. Like all the themes, everything that you love about the characters there in the book. And I think in some ways there's a human element to it that you kind of miss in some Superman stories that you can actually get in Secret Identity, because this person is a regular guy, but he loves Superman just like you do. And so it's kind of a wish fulfillment type book, because you really feel like this character, and you feel like, what if I got Superman's abilities? What if I could fly? What if I could do all of this? And it's just such a great book. And I kind of wanted to mention it earlier when we were talking about Batman stories, but we were talking about Batman for so long I didn't want to get into it. But kind of the sister book to Superman's Secret Identity is Batman Creature of the Night by Kurt Busiek and the late great John Paul Leon. And it's one of those stories that it's kind of the same theme, same idea of having a character whose kind of life parallels like a Bruce Wayne type character. So both of those stories are must reads, but yeah, Superman's Secret Identity is definitely my pick.
I second that. I mean, and for any big DC Superman heads out there, this could be a parallel tale of Superboy Prime and his happily ever after. If the crisis never came for Earth Prime in 1985, this is what would happen. And that you don't have the rocket ship at the beginning of the story, because that's a huge iconic part, is infant in a rocket coming from Krypton to planet Earth, crash landing on the Kent's farm. Where Superboy Prime, he was teleported, a matter teleporter ray. So he didn't have any sunstone. I think he just had the cape, his blanket. You know, I don't even, and that was it. And so this is, for Superboy Prime fans, I am one. I don't think it's officially ever been acknowledged as being, no, that's Superboy Prime. Or prove me wrong. Let me know. Do you know something about that?
No, yeah, I don't think it's ever been officially. I think I know that Kurt Busiek in his foreword to the book, he talks about how he was reading. It was pre-Crisis, I believe. He was reading, about Superboy, and before they went to Crisis on Infinite Earths, he always wondered, what happened to this Superboy, this character, and that's what really inspired him to write this story of like, where did those Superboys go? It's like after we changed and after the entire universe kind of got reset, that was a big inspiration for that. So I could definitely see them do something.
Real quick, I think someone's mic just went like super high or something. Is anyone else hearing a lot of background noise right now?
Yeah, I am actually.
Yeah. Someone's gain just went up. So sorry to interrupt, but yeah, someone's gain I think went way up, and
I'm on mute.
There's a lot of background noise right now. There we go. Now the background noise is gone.
Yeah, it's Jim.
Oh.
Somebody probably trying to murder him, and his mic fell off his desk. It's normal.
The mic is dope.
Now it just must be my mic, so I'm just going to check out.
All right.
It's just the cord.
It's all good now, though.
Yeah.
You come back.
Sully, is that your pick? Is that your number?
It was one of my picks. I actually had a couple. I scribbled down. One definitely being the Alan Moore story. Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow from Superman 423 and Action Comics 583. And that was September of 1986. And it's Superman, immediate post-crisis. It's like the last Superman story of that cycle. It's got art by Kurt Swan. And there's just a very memorable scene where it's Clark. He's dealing with the loss of Kara. And he's in the Fortress of Solitude. And he looks up, and there's the time bubble. And here comes the Legion, and they're all teenagers. And guess what? There's Kara Zor-El, probably holding hands with Brainy or something. But, and he just like, they leave. They're like, bye, Clark. And they leave, and he just breaks down crying.
Yeah.
And it's just very emotional. I mean, it's usually included in that Alan Moore trade paperback with the Black Mercy flower and the really good Tales of the Green Lantern Corps that has Bullfunga, the bounty hunter, and he's looking for Mogo, the Green Lantern. He doesn't realize he's been on the planet the entire time. It's really fun. Best Superman comics.
Has anyone said Kingdom Come yet? I know it's.
I haven't.
Just Superman, but I think it's a fantastic Superman story. And every time I read it, it feels more and more relevant. It's
because
like Alex Ross could see the future.
Yeah, this disconnect between the generations, like especially the young generations of heroes and their infighting, and because it's needless, and it's like you're not fighting over resources or territory or anything. It's so interesting. 30 years old now.
Yeah, I don't always like Alex Ross on interiors, unless it's like a Hulk book or something. I like him on monsters, but when it's just regular superheroes, because it's so photorealistic, you kind of miss the exaggerated stuff and all that stuff. But I think his art is just perfect for what Kingdom Come was trying to say and what it is.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think?
Totally.
1996.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll go next.
What were you saying, Nander? I'm sorry.
No. I was just saying that something about Kingdom Come that I think is so remarkable is how timeless it's become, just how much of a evergreen story it is. But I was almost going to say, when I read it, not only did I find it to be one of the best Superman stories, but I also see it as one of the best Shazam stories too. And I feel like having those characters, pitted against each other. And Shazam has some of the most iconic moments in that story, as does Superman. And I think showing how, I think some of the best DC kind of storylines kind of talk about the kind of the corruption of the innocent, or how things have become corroded over the years, and how we need to kind of fix things or reset things, or go back to kind of the golden age of superheroes. And that's something that Kingdom Come does really, really well.
Yeah.
And I think Shazam, seeing Billy, kind of go through that and, be corrupted by like Lex Luthor and all that stuff, being controlled, and having him come out at the end and, save the day is just like so powerful. Such a great story.
and even Magog. I mean, you wanted
Yeah.
a Superman that kills. Well, you got one.
Yeah.
And then, and that was the changing of the generation. And then Magog's regret. He was like, I can never be you.
Yeah.
I've killed, I've murdered. And he's just like, that's heartbreaking. And that's wonderful. Great storytelling.
It's almost like the 1984 comic books for me. Every time I go and read it again, I see something else that wasn't there the first time. Like, oh, maybe I wasn't interpreting it. Maybe it was there. Maybe maybe I've changed over the years. But there's always something new to discover. I just always really appreciate that one. What's the Alan Moore one where they're interviewing Lois Lane? She's talking about the death of Superman.
Yeah, that was I was talking about that one. That's one of mine. While you were out, it was Action Comics.
Whatever happened to the
583.
The Man of Tomorrow.
Yeah, and whatever happened, and like she's having supper with her husband Jordan Elliott and their young son Jonathan, and whatever happened to Superman, Lois? It was so long ago. Give us the details. And he winks. Does that Superman wink in that last panel?
Yeah.
There you go. Wonderful.
Yeah. All right, so have you gotten into your favorite Superman stories yet?
No, I have not, but I'm ready to get into it. My number one is Superman Up and Away. I think it's the best. Kurt Busiek, Jeff Johns. It's so good. It's a year after Infinite Crisis. Superman still doesn't have his powers after going through that asteroid field of kryptonite and being exposed to red sun radiation. So he's just been Clark. He's turned into like the best reporter because he no longer has Superman responsibilities. Lois loves it because she actually has her husband, doesn't have to share him with the entire world.
Jacket.
Yeah, his Letterman's jacket's great. Then a lot of stuff happens in the book. You have the Green Lantern. You have Hal Jordan like coming to offer and be like, "Hey, you could still be a superhero. We can give you a Green Lantern ring." It's like, no. Then you have that final confrontation with Lex that is great, where they duke it out, where he doesn't have any powers. It's so good. Up and Away is amazing. Severely underrated. They need to reprint it though, because like this is like the only trade we ever got. So they need to do a reprint. I wish. Another book that I love that's really underrated is Ending Battle. Ending Battle is really cool. You got Jeff Johns, Joe Casey, Joe Kelly. They killed it because this is one across like all the Superman books. It's where Superman is put in like a gauntlet of just villains that he has to fight. He's just being kept busy. He's just being
like Knightfall
around. Yes, the entire time because he's trying to figure out who's doing it. Turns out in the end it's Manchester Black who's keeping him busy while he messes with Lois. And this is, I think, essential reading for every dipshit comic book writer that is like, I'm gonna do an Elseworld story where Lois dies and Superman goes insane as a dictator now or like a murderer or whatever. Because in this, at the end, Manchester Black has Superman think that Lois gets, like, he straight up just murders Lois. And Superman thinks about just eviscerating him. But then he's like, no, Lois obviously wouldn't want that. That's not who I am. He's like, you're just going to rot in prison forever. And it's great. It's a really good comic. You get to see that Superman obviously wouldn't break everything that he's been through, wouldn't just go out the window just because Lois died. Ending Battle is really, really cool. Superman Exile. I love Exile. This is after Superman in a pocket dimension ended up killing another version of Zod and his cronies. And after that, he's like, I don't know if I can really be around right now because I just killed people for the first time. This is tough. So he exiles himself. He goes around space. A lot of stuff happens. We get him versus Mongol, which is super cool. We get that gladiator design with the cape. It's Superman Exile is really really cool. They've done, I think they just reprinted this recently too. This is like one of the older editions, but they reprinted it recently and it's really solid. It's great. Him versus Mongol is always cool. And when he fights Drago, that's like sick where he's told to execute Drago and he won't do it. And then Drago wears his symbol after that. I think this is the best Superman origin. There's so many different Superman origins. I think Secret Origin's the best. Nice. I love how it tackles like a new era of Superman with each issue. And we talked about Gary Frank. To me, I agree with what you guys are saying. The best Superman artist. This was some of his best work on Secret Origin. Secret Origin is just so good. That entire the whole run from Jeff Johns of Superman is great. Everything like Brainiac, Legion of Superheroes, Last Son of Krypton, Escape of Bizarre World. Even his New 52 book, Men of Tomorrow, was really good, which is surprising because nothing's really good from Superman New 52. And then finally, the last one, so I don't just keep going, is Camelot Falls, which actually just got reprinted like last year from Kurt Busiek. It's really cool. It's essentially a time traveler comes to Superman. It's like, you've been coddling mankind too much. If you keep doing it, it's going to result in this like evil presence coming in, and humanity's just going to be done for. Everything's going to be bad because you've coddled humanity too much. You need to just go away and stop saving people and stop being a good guy. And so it's really cool, and you get like a look at a future post-apocalyptic Earth where Superman's no longer around, but Lex Luthor's actually trying to help at that point, and you've got Parasite, who has some of Clark's memories because he had absorbed some of him a little bit before he went away, and it's really cool. Camelot Falls isn't talked about enough. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think of the newer stuff? I still think the I believe it's Superman, Peter J. Tomasi. I think it's Patrick Gleason on art, but I guess it could be Jorge Jimenez, where they go to the fair.
Yes.
And he promises Lois
yes.
that he won't do anything because it's just the three of them, and in the middle of taking them on rides and everything, he's off like saving the world again.
One of the best single issue Superman stories. Yeah, I agree.
I love it.
Yeah.
That was such a
it's
good
so
one.
good.
Do you think Warworld Saga ends up being something that people read in 15, 20 years? Obviously, that one's the newer one.
I think so, definitely. I think Warworld Saga is definitely like, as far as like the past 10, 15 years for Superman comics, I think that's one of the ones that you can see like it's probably an instant classic. I think it's going to be something that people will go back and read.
I always kind of like it when they depower Superman and they show you that like Clark Kent is the hero, Superman is the power set, and obviously that's kind of what Warworld definitely fleshes out over 18 months. Maybe it goes on a little too long, but I still think it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, Jim, you had some technical difficulties. Did you like almost electrocute yourself?
No, I don't know what the hell happened. I muted my mic to go calm my wife down, came back, and all hell had broken loose with the mic. So it seems better now. Seems okay now. She was texting me while we were recording, and the text went from telling me something to actually arguing with me before I could respond. So I had to go and clear that up. And at one point, I even said to something like, I'm not doing that anymore. But she thought I meant like I'm not arguing or talking to you. And it was almost a fight. So we're good now. We're good. But yeah. But Superman.
What's your Superman?
Has anybody said whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow? Did they bring that up by Alan Moore?
We both brought it up.
Yeah, that's mine. That is mine. I just loved it. So it's already been talked about. So there you go.
I would like it, yeah. I mean, it's kind of one of those like where you're comparing like two perfect stories, but I would say like I almost prefer for the Man Who Has Everything like more than whatever happened to the Man Tomorrow. But they're both very, very good.
Yeah. The thing with for the Man Who Has Everything, it's just been since then. It's nothing bad about the story itself, but it's been so overdone after that I kind of like, and it's whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow is all cited by a lot of even writers, and I was even looking up when I was making up a list and things, and George Perez was the inker, and he said it was his favorite moment of ever. Like it was the thing he was most proud of, and he was only the inker on it. That's how much he liked it. Cool. And and I think that because of the Man Who Has Everything, whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow does kind of get like lost in the shuffle a bit. You don't hear about it as much as, and it's so good. And coming when they were going to reboot things and kind of an ending was crazy. And the ending is so like, it's emotional. It has everything. So yeah, I really like that. I even like stuff like Red Sun, some of the Elseworld stuff, and I like Superman. Yeah, and Superman is pretty cool to do Elseworld stuff because then you can play. But then again, people got sick of the evil Superman, the dark Superman. But when that kind of started up and things like that, it was pretty cool. Overdone then, but yeah.
Did you get to read the Man and Superman 100-page giant, Mark Wolfman?
Yeah, that was really good. I really like that.
That's a great story, like a Superman Year One type thing. Certainly much better than Frank Miller's.
Yeah, that Superman Year One is so bad. So bad. I actually wasn't quite looking forward to it when it came out, but I kind of was, and I'm like, okay, this will be, oh my God, like from the beginning, it was off. It was so off.
All right, Gabe, did you get a name off your favorite Superman?
No, I did not, but I'll rifle through them pretty quickly for obvious reasons. All-Star Superman, just because it's a great way to show the end of his life and doing the one thing that he has been unable to do for the entire length of his career, which is basically get Lex Luthor to wake up to what he was really all about and what his lack of perspective and empathy for who Superman was holding him back from. And that I thought that was a great way to kind of cap that entire career for the world's greatest superhero, arguably. Also, I'll go against the grain and be Mr. Cliche. I'll be Cliche Gabe for this one, and it's Death of Superman. And the reason is, it's a great story. Obviously, it brings in a new great hero, right? Because it's Doomsday. I should say villain, because it's Doomsday. But there are so few stories, forget about Superman stories, but so few stories in general from comics that were so culturally impactful. Because when they were talking about Death of Superman, this big event, it turned into an event. It was featured on mainstream news. I mean, it was all those things where people were just talking about, people were writing news articles about it, and not just like comic. I mean, I'm talking about like 5 o'clock news kind of stuff showing up. And then think about all the different storylines, great storylines and new characters that spawned out of that one story. Because you have the death of Superman, and that leads into the reign of Superman, and then that leads into Mongol coming to Earth and blowing up cities, and that leads to Emerald Twilight, and then that leads to 0 Hour, and that leads to Emerald Dawn, and it leads to all these things that spawn out of that one story, spawn years and years of new characters that we still like. That's where Connor Kent comes from. That's what eventually leads to the introduction of Kyle Rayner. That's what leads to all these different things that are spawning up and coming up out of DC Universe proper, and that shows just from that one event how very central and important Superman is to the greater DC Universe. Because that one conflict and that one death, because superheroes die and come back to life all the time, but that one death rippled through every other story that came after it and created new heroes. That's where Steel comes from. That's where all these other things come from. And you see how that one event led to another event, which led to another event, which led to another event, and all of them were great. I know 0 Hour gets this bad rap, and a lot of people like it, but for me, that's the coolest looking Aquaman you're ever going to get with his harpoon hand, stuff like that. It's those little things that you remember. And it's those things that, all the Alfreds from all the timelines coming together at the one place. Not 0 Hour, it's not Superman, but 0 Hour was only possible because of Hal Jordan essentially losing his mind. And that he lost his mind because of what Mongol did. But the only reason that happened is because Mongol came to Earth because Superman died, because he said, open season on Earth. So that one event, even though it's, not the most elegant or maybe not the most super original Superman story, it shows why Superman is important. And by that event occurring, it spawned in some cases decades worth of developments that we're still talking about today. So for me, that's the most, if not necessarily the most favorite, and I still think it's for a lot of reasons my favorite, but also the most important Superman story we've had since possibly forever.
Dylan, am I crazy for thinking that Hank Henshaw is the most underutilized, awesome Superman character?
No, definitely not. Yeah.
I think he's
really
so cool. Badass.
Yeah. His design alone
awesome.
Is sick. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah.
You almost never see the guy.
Yeah. Philip K. Johnson just did a little cool thing with him, but that was a small little storyline. But yeah, he gets severely underused. They completely changed the New 52, made him Kara's dad in the New 52. Yeah.
That was bad.
Yeah. So, but he is.
I
really
wanted to. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to. I had like an honorary mention. It was a part of. I think it was after Rebirth, but they did Superman Adventures anthology series, and there's one particular issue, number 11, written by Jim Kruger, and the art was by Neil Edwards, and it's called The Dark Lantern. And it's a 30-page one-shot about the Green Lantern who couldn't save Krypton, and he goes to meet Superman because he wants Superman to take his life because he's so ashamed that he wasn't able to save Krypton. And it's one of the most emotional Superman stories that I've read. It's a really, really great story.
Speaking of the anthologies, I love the Daniel Warren Johnson Superman and Pa Kent story in Superman Red, White, and Blue, I think it is.
Oh, yes.
I love that one.
Such
I think
a
it's only
great
like
story.
8 pages.
Yeah.
but it's like perfect.
Nobody's bringing up the John Ridley. Was that the John Ridley one where he gets
No,
bent
no
over?
one wants
That's
the
not
raping.
in there.
Nobody wants a prison. Nobody wants a prison rape story.
The
Thank
prison
you.
deal. Yeah.
Well,
I'm
with that
surprised no
Superman
one brought
Lost
up
story-
Man of Steel, but I still love Man of Steel.
That
Although-
sounds great.
So Dylan, so you're more of a Jeff Johns Superman guy who certainly was trying to undo Man of Steel and going back to more of like a Silver Age Superman, you know, kind of transitioning back, kind of like what I guess he did with Green Lantern and Flash eventually, right?
Yeah, but man, I love John Byrne's run. I have every volume of that. I have that entire run, and it's great. And Twitter loves to shit on John Byrne for everything. You can say whatever you want personally about him, but he wrote some great comics, and I love what he did with Superman for the most part.
Yeah, I love Man of Steel. And then I guess the other one what we missed, someone's mentioned Birthright. It's a fine story. I just don't think it's the best origin story, which is there's plenty of them out there. It's hard competition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's Superman for all seasons as well. If you like the whole Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale thing, I mean it's a wonderful book. It's so well told. It's just 4 issues, really nicely, collected, and it just follows the themes of the seasons. It's wonderful retro art. If you don't know that, Dylan, you know this one?
Yeah, for all seasons, yeah.
Okay,
it's one of the most classic Superman stories. Yeah,
oh, that's good.
Absolutely.
You grew up with it as a bedtime story, didn't you?
pretty much.
That's awesome.
Another good. I was
bet.
just gonna say another good Tim Sale one was Krypton with Darren Cook.
Oh, yeah, good.
Kryptonite is really good. That's like that's one that I made a video on it like last year, talking about how it should be the basis for James Gunn's Superman, because he talked about how he wanted to do like a year 2, 3 Superman. I was like, this is the perfect story for that. And you finally don't have Lex or Zod as the main villain. Lex is kind of in the background. It's a great book.
Sleeve McDakel, have y'all read the action issue where Lex Luthor fights Mr. Mind? Takes place right after Blackest Night.
Yeah, that was the Black Ring storyline. That's what it's called in the collection in the trade paperbacks. It's really good.
Paul Cornell wrote that?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that one we should all put on the list?
Yeah, I'd say definitely so. It's pretty cool.
Very nice. Carlitos Figueroa. My favorite Superman runs goes as follows. Superman Last Son of Krypton, Superman Brainiac, Superman by Tomasi and Gleason, Superman Red Sun.
Solid.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's Superman by Tomasi and Gleason. It's too bad. Tomasi has said he had 2 years of Superman stories that he'd already mapped out that all got wiped out by Bendis. It's so depressing, isn't it?
Yeah. He's so
Notice
good.
we haven't mentioned Bendis.
Certainly not. You won't mention him out anything for DC Comics, really, but that Tomasi and Gleason run is just so fantastic, because you get the introduction of really John Kent and him being a dad. It was just another side of Superman and something else that he had to worry about. And John discovering his powers and accidentally, what does he kill, a bird?
The cat.
He kills a cat, and he's like heartbroken. He's got a little crush on the girl on the farm next door. Yeah, really love that stuff. Superman's the best. I do like Superman Red Sun, but I don't know that it says a whole lot about Superman. Just what he could have been if he landed in the wrong place. Well, I guess it says a lot about Ma and Pa Kent and their place in the Superman mythos, in becoming what he is. Nerd says, who do you think realistically has the best chance at breaking Superman's resolve to stay true to his morals? My vote is Darkseid. Joker was a contrivance.
Earth 3, Lois Lane. Why not?
Well, I mean, Lois is probably the right answer.
Yeah.
Because he trusts her more than anybody.
Right.
And you can't see Ma and Pa Kent being turned, right?
Well, we can use magic.
Zatanna, maybe it's what's the big the Raven's father?
Oh, Trigon.
Maybe it's Trigon.
Yeah.
Ooh,
He's got some magic that he could use on him.
exactly.
Man, I love that. Action Comics Annual #1 by Byrne and Art Adams.
Ooh, nice.
Art Adams, fantastic. I have not read that Action Comics Annual.
I haven't.
Have I made a mistake? That's why it's
is
good to
that
do
the
these
one where they go
shows.
after Magpie? Is that the one I'm thinking of, or is that a different one?
That's the best thing about doing these lists when you start like, oh, okay, I've got like a 10-year block of Superman that I didn't actually make do. Those still good. Oh man. So it doesn't look like we're going to get through all 5. I guess I'm going to skip the Justice League. Do we want to do Flash next?
You Flash.
Let's do Flash. Let's do the best Flash comic books of all time. Jim, you are the world's biggest Flash fan. What is your favorite story?
Really? That's me. I would just put the Mark Waid run overall. It's another character.
So Wally's your Flash?
That's the thing. It's weird. Barry's my Flash, but I like the stories of Wally better. And the only reason Barry's my Flash is because I ended up reading Barry first. But Wally is a lot more fun. So I would go by that run in general. I'm trying to think of what I would say is the best story, though. It's tough. I just had read Dead Heat, that trade, which was really good. I've been reading a bunch more, but again, I think that Flash is that weird play. And also, just to point out, you said with Wally and Barry, we haven't had that kind of play in a lot of these things we've done the last 2 weeks of actually first deciding which character is your character and then the run of it. But I'm just going to go Mark Waid in general. I don't want to be generic, but I really did like that run.
Well, it's probably the best run that he's ever had.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Could be.
Probably is. It's probably the best Flash run, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think it is.
I don't know about that.
All right, speak up, sir.
Well, my choice for best Flash run is Dead Heat by Mark Waid.
There you go.
It's a 6-issue mini from like 1996. And it's Wally West meeting his Reverse Flash way before he meets Hunter Zolomon and the Jeff Johns stuff. And it's 4 issues of Flash. It's 2 issues of Impulse. Impulse had his own magazine at the
Impulse.
time. That was a fun show.
Yeah.
Hey, check it out. I got Impulse 41 in the
Flash
dollar
with
bin.
ADD.
Yeah.
Perfect.
This is Ethan Van Sciver's first full DC comic book. He was like, "Where'd you find that in the dollar bin?" Yeah. But also, I want to throw this in there too because this is one I had as a kid. This is Flash 344. This is the trial of Barry Allen. And what always got me was this opening page, this splash page. Wally has been called to testify against his mentor, and he's going to tell the truth because he's a hero. And they ask him a question. Do you think that the Flash, could have not killed Reverse Flash? And he was like, yes, I think he could have, solved this. He was like, I'm sorry, Barry. And he's like, I forgive you. Don't worry. You did the right thing. You told the truth. But it's just another retelling of Kid Flash.
But later on, he refused to let him go save his wife and kids in the Speed Force. So
yeah, exactly.
He might have held correct.
But this wonderful Carmen Infantino art line work. I love the classic Wally West Kid Flash look. This is a great singular issue. Look, GoBots. Huh? And but yeah, this is one of the ones my mom threw out in that giant stack of comic books after I got busted with comic books in middle school. I was in 5th grade.
There's a lot of good single issues. I like the Flash of Two Worlds.
Yeah.
Discovers the multiverse.
So yeah, Jim, I hate to disagree with you, but yeah. It's great. I mean, it's really great. I mean, Savitar is a beast. It's one of those comic book wisdoms that we take with you all your life. I mean, this was done about close to 30 years ago, at least 25. But it's more of like Aunt Iris says to Wally, Wally, you can't beat him. She just came from the future. She's from the 31st century. And Wally, you can't beat him. Give him what he wants. And it just snaps. He's like, oh, I get it. So Wally throws him into the Speed Force and himself too, not knowing if he can get out, but he's the hero. He knows he can get out, And it was just like, oh, that's how you treat a bully. Yeah. All right. I'm going to give you what you want.
Yeah. I love also, what is it? The Flash Nobody Dies.
Ooh.
Single issue. This is fantastic.
An honorable mention to all of that Jeremy Adams that came out in the past couple of years that got me back buying weekly funny books.
Jeremy Adams is the one, huh?
Thank you, Space Kicker. Yeah, I'm going to see him next weekend at Boston Fan Expo.
I think he was just on Mark Miller's YouTube channel.
He was,
That's right.
He's got a great interview up there. I have to check that out still.
A lot of good people on that one. So, Nader, what's your Flash story?
Barry is my Flash, and yeah, I really got into Flash because of Jeff Johns coming on the book before Flashpoint. It was like a 12-issue series before they went to Flashpoint and they went to New 52, and also Flash Rebirth. That was like my introduction to the character, and I really, I read Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then I read Flash Rebirth, and then I read, the Flash run when it was coming out with Jeff Johns and Manipul, and then Flashpoint. So like really that entire era was really huge for me in reading Flash, reading about Barry Allen coming back and kind of fitting into to society and Reverse Flash. But if I were to pick, I guess like one story, it would probably be the Flashpoint story, because I feel like unfortunately I feel like some people feel like that's the only kind of Barry Allen story they can do, but in some ways it's like a blessing and a curse, because it's just that good. It's a really interesting story about what would happen if Barry Allen wasn't able to save his mom, and you see how the world has changed, and you have all the different iterations of these characters, like Thomas Wayne being Batman. I thought was really cool, and I love Andy Kubert's art in the book. But I would say even what Jeff Johns did with Wally after Mark Waid left the book was really great too. And so you can kind of if you want to kind of read some of the best Flash stories, picking up from Waid to Johns, and then getting to Flash Rebirth. And then I would, I'm not the biggest fan of what Brian Buccellato and Francis Manipul did in the New 52. I feel like when Dan Abnett and Robert Venditti came on the book in the New 52, it got better. But I will also stand by. I think Joshua Williamson's Flash run was absolutely incredible. I really enjoyed it.
I liked it all the way up, right about until like Flash War. And I don't know. That one just threw me off a little bit.
Yeah,
it took me a while to get back.
Yeah, I thought. I also thought like him trying to kind of mimic what Jeff Johns did with the different strength force and speed force, all that kind of stuff. It didn't land as well.
Oh, the force clash.
That could have been really cool.
I hated that.
Barry ended it by saying, I like when Barry came back and he's like, yeah, I didn't figure anything out.
Right.
And Iris had done most of the work anyway.
I know.
It could have been like, so cool. I was excited about it. I thought that'd be a really good addition. And then it kind of fell flat.
Yeah. But overall, like I think he did 100 issues or around there. Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty like consistently great book that has a lot of great different artists throughout, and I think a lot of the things he did.
Sandoval's the guy on the end, though, right?
Yeah.
Looked really
and
good.
a lot of the stuff that Williamson was able to kind of pick up from Johns, and a lot of the things he did with Reverse Flash was really great and really strong stuff. And I thought for him to, because it was coming out twice a month, for him to keep that consistency over those 100 issues, for me to like be invested in the character. I really never got bored. I was like interested in every story that was coming out to kind of see what he was doing. And so I just think that's really impressive.
And he did also try to undo Heroes in Crisis the best he could before he finished up those last couple issues.
Right. Where
it was the Reverse Flash was going back there and convincing him that no one would believe him and he needed to do these bad things.
Exactly. And that final issue cover where Barry is dragging Reverse Flash, it's like a stark white background, and he's dragging Eberth on, and there's like blood, on the floor. Yep. It's such an iconic cover. It's so cool.
Yeah, really enjoy that stuff. Does Gabe have a Flash run or a Flash story?
Sus Gabe has got to be cliche Gabe again. So for me, it's still pretty much Flashpoint, and then leading back into eventually Rebirth. Both Jeff Johns, right? So but the reason that they're important to me is because A, they're great stories, which is obvious. B is because both of those stories have so much heart and tragedy at their center. So Flashpoint is all about trying to save his mom, and everybody can relate to that emotional beat. Everybody can relate to just trying to do something to bring your mom back, to stop what happened to her, and then having the tragic weight of, if I do this, here are all the terrible consequences of what happens as a result. And then I have to try and bring that back, knowing that I can't bring her back.
I hate my mom, Gabe. It didn't resonate with me.
Okay,
Can't stand it.
Flash guy is out of his mind.
Can't stand it. Like, really?
We'll talk about that in your performance review. It's all right. It's okay. And then with Rebirth, that one panel when Barry's like, something's going on here, something's off, and then he kind of reaches in and he grabs Wally, and he pulls him out of that sort of bubble of
the hug, the man tears,
and they're like man tears, and they're hugging, and I'm like,
how could I ever forget you? Yeah.
How could I ever forget you? Damn it, Jeff Johns. And like, and the reason, part of that reason is because that is that moment of the two guys who have been partners in crime for so very long coming back together because the memories are coming back, the realities are starting to reconverge, which is a fantastic, just that moment right there. But also because that was Rebirth was coming in to sort of right the ship when 52 was effectively completely falling apart. And everybody's like, 52 is garbage. Why are we still doing this? And then everybody's just so disillusioned and so down on DC, and like, somebody's got to fix this. Somebody's got to come in and make this right. And then when Jeff Johns came back with it, in that moment saying, okay, if we keep going, this is where you can see we're getting back on track. This is where DC is righting the ship and moving in the right direction. So it was sort of a metatextual moment where it wasn't just the Flash was better and you had this really great emotional moment, but now you had this sort of, okay, DC is now getting better. The world is healing sort of a moment. And it was just not just in the comic, but also within DC proper. And it all just came together at just the right moment. Now, since then, of course, it didn't stick, which is another long-term problem. But yeah, for me, those two were sort of the Jeff Johns bookends for Flashpoint and everything that came after it. And then eventually leading to the New 52, which started strong, then fell apart. And then Jeff Johns coming in again, sort of like the White Knight, to kind of bring it all back together and say, okay, we're going to get better now. And that's where I think Flash really cements himself as a very important character for DC as a whole, in the way the multiverse and their being able to be used as a catalyst to reset the universe for DC, and how he plays such a critical part in making that happen in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, bumping off the Rebirth moment, I did think I know it's not a Flash book, but it's more of like a Wally West-centric, at least at the beginning, was that Dan Abnett, Brett Booth, Titans book.
Titans, yeah.
Was really, really good if you like Wally West and you missed him. Even though I'm more of a Barry Allen guy, I still like the Wally West. And even Brett Booth and I can't remember the guy that did Flash Forward. They try to resuscitate Wally West as well.
Scott Lobdell.
Yeah, they did. They did a good try. I think Jeremy Adams actually made it work eventually. But.
Yeah, it showed you how shit that Heroes in Crisis was. That it took like 7 attempts. They could not get around. And then even Poison Ivy on as well. I mean, they ended up having and still kind of going with that, that's the evil plan, right?
And then Cy Sprayer comes back to fuck it up again.
Yeah.
I imagine, I don't know what Jeff Johns, is like in terms of like I imagine him, he does Rebirth, or he does these things that he's like, okay, guys, I've set the stage for you, and then things get messed up, and then he comes back and he's just like, what do you guys do? What have you done? I had things, set well for you. And, it's almost like a parent coming back.
Screw this. I'm going to Image.
Yeah. Their kids had just, ruined the house. It's like every time I leave, you guys, just don't stick to the vision.
All right, Dylan, do you got any Flash story that you think is the greatest ever?
Yes, I chose one Barry Allen, one Wally West story. So for Wally West, but they're both Jeff Johns' book. I got Rogue War. I love Rogue War. You've got you got Captain Cold bringing his group of rogues together, and then you've got the Trickster, who's an FBI agent, bringing his group of rogues, and they fight, and then everything goes crazy because the Top shows up, and then Captain Cold just straight up murders the Top after he like causes so much mayhem, and then Zoom shows up and forces Barry to Wally to relive the moment where his twins are killed in the womb over and over, and he's so messed up he thinks he's helping Wally. He's like, you got to go through all of this to become a better Flash. And then Barry shows up to help him because it's 2 reverse Flashes against Wally, and Barry shows up, and it's such a good ending. I love Rogue War. And then for my favorite Barry Allen story, it's Rebirth, the OG Rebirth. It's so good, and sort of has a similar ending to Rogue War in the sense that, like, at the end, Thawne's going after Iris, and Barry's trying to catch him, and he's failing, and then Wally shows up, and he's like, "I got you," and it's so good. And so many great moments in that, and it expands upon the Speed Force. Yeah, it's really cool. Those are my 2 picks: so Rebirth and Rogue War.
Yeah, fantastic character. I love the Flash. They should just let Jeremy Adams keep cooking. You know what I mean? He'd really done a lot of work on that one. You know what's another good one I forgot about? It's a short story by Jeff Johns, but it's in like the Flash 80th anniversary, where Captain Cold is going out to get some beer, and everyone thinks that he's going to rob something, and Flash thinks he's trying to ruin his birthday.
Yeah.
And he just wants to get some beer to watch hockey.
Get some beer, watch hockey game. That's it.
You know what?
That was great. And
there's a really good Flash moment in the Justice League cartoon with where who is he? Is it a Trickster? Flash goes into the bar and be like, "Are you up to no good again? Check in with your doctor." And he's just like he's checking in with the rogues, like he's just like, no, be good. And then he goes off to do his thing. But I think it was like the Michael Rosenbaum voice acting, the Bruce Timm thing. It's the whole thing. It just works. But I mean that was Wally. That was a Wally Flash. But isn't that? I mean, that's Flash to me. In a moment,
There's also that moment that I love where Luthor's in the body of Flash. He's like, "I'm going to find out a secret." And he takes it off. He's like, "I have no clue who this is." He just sees Wally's face. He's like, "I have no idea who this is."
Some rando. Does anyone agree with me that I think Flash has the second best rogues gallery at DC behind Batman?
Oh yeah, I agree with you. Definitely.
I'm a hockey fan, so I love the time that Captain Cold stole the DC Universe, version of the Stanley Cup, and he's like in the middle of the Rogues lair, and he's got the Stanley Cup with him, and there's like the Central City team jersey on, and there's like icicles everywhere and shit. It's like some Scott Collins work.
That was my biggest disappointment on the CW Flash show, which I think is really good there at the beginning. Is they just kept doing like reverse Flash villains.
Yeah,
it's the same story with another version of that same villain.
Yeah, it's like it's Zoom or it's Godspeed. It's just like an evil Flash. Yeah,
Savitar. Like that was when I checked out.
That
I was like,
wasn't Savitar. Exactly. Me too. I was like, that's the wrong. That's just Savitar in name. I mean, Time Remnant Barry seems like that's an interesting idea. Sure, you know what I mean.
I know. I do love the Reverse Flash, though. I think he's top 5 DC villains of all time.
Yes.
Totally underrated. So we do have a few super chats. I guess we'll have to wrap this one up. It's so hard to get through all this stuff to cover it. But I guess, you know what? Because we didn't get to Justice League, we didn't get to Green Lantern, we'll let everyone else lay out their other comic book they wish they could have gotten in on this one. Dylan, what of your other book that you wanted to mention? Definitely did.
I'll go with my Justice League pick, which was The Tornado's Path. It's a really cool Red Tornado storyline that Brad Meltzer did at the beginning of when he rebooted Justice League. That fight between Solomon Grundy and Red Tornado is so cool. Red Tornado gets an actual human body, but he's tricked into getting it, and he's not having a good time in his human body. He can now get punched, and it doesn't feel good. And it's just a great story. I love Tornado's Path. It's severely underrated in my opinion.
Justice League Tornado's Path. I've never heard anyone say that one.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's really good. And
all right, Jim, what would your pick be of whatever comic book we didn't get to or character or whatever that you wanted to mention?
I'll go Sinestro Core War. I was going to have that for my Green Lantern pick, but I'll also throw in Tower of Babel as well for the Justice League. Both of those.
Nice.
I really enjoyed. But yeah, Sinestro Core War is great. I'm not that big. Me and you, Wes, both we're not huge Green Lantern fans, but
I'm an enormous Green Lantern fan. I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I thought you told me that you weren't.
I love Green
somebody
Lantern.
else.
It's between Hal Jordan and Nightwing for me.
Yeah.
I think Nightwing is taking it up a notch for me though.
Yeah. I just never read a lot of Green Lantern stuff, but I do like the whole Sinestro Core War stuff.
A lot of Jeff Johns in the conversation today, and for good reason. All right, Gabe, you got one more story that you needed to mention that maybe we didn't get to that character or team?
Well, since Jim stole Tower of Babel from me, which I was going to mention, I'll add that in. But because it is sort of JLA overall, but a little bit of everything, I'll go back to it and I'll say it has its problems, but I really love Zero Hour because there are so many interesting and cool ideas in there. And plus that ending where Hal Jordan as Parallax has to be killed by Green Arrow, who are lifelong friends, and that kind of that big gut punch moment of, having to put down your friend just really hit it for me. So I'll hit on Zero Hour as a one of my top memorable comic moments.
Nandor.
Yeah, I want to mention for a Justice League story. I feel like it's the perfect Justice League story for a lot of reasons, but it's going to be Justice by Jim Kruger, Doug Braithwaite, and Alex Ross. It's a 12-issue like maxi series that basically pits all of the villains of the DC universe, take out every hero one at a time, and they are being seen as heroes in the world, and all of the heroes are having to basically try to figure out how do they get the good faith of the people back. And I mean, there's an amazing scene where Superman is like depowered or like Mr. Mind has like controlled him or something, and Shazam has to throw him into the sun so that it takes away all of the mind control, and he goes like repowers himself and comes out a better Superman for it. But there's a lot of iconic moments in that series. It's such a great like seminal DC work that when you read that book, you understand kind of everyone's function in the DC universe, and you also understand like, I mean, it's kind of like a greatest hits type of book because you're seeing kind of every arch nemesis or arch villain go up against that hero, and it's like the Legion of Villains, Legion of Doom or whatever, like taking out the Justice League. So it's one of those books that it's an evergreen book. I would always recommend it to people. And there's just a lot of great moments for every single Justice League member character in it that I think a lot of Justice League stories might not take the time for. So, and there's a really great scene at the end too, where they're having to wear these different sets of armor. And I think Lex Luthor thinks he's fighting Superman, but Superman and Shazam like switch their armors or whatever. And it's just like a really great kind of gotcha moment in the book that is really great. So yeah, I would recommend Justice.
Very nice. Eric, do you have one final?
I do. I took a big break from comics once after Onslaught and the X-Men, and so I needed a break. I came back in 2001, and the first couple of issues I picked up of anything was Green Lantern. At that time, Judd Winnick was writing it, and he had Darryl Banks on pencils, and eventually Dale Eaglesham, who was this amazing Green Lantern artist. So there's a lot of good, decent Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner stories told by Judd Winnick. I'm not even saying the Ron Mars stuff. I think I like the Winnick stuff better than the Ron Mars stuff. Ron Mars came back and replaced Winnick, and kind of he landed the series, but it was a bad landing. And but I'd say anything by Judd Winnick on Green Lantern. He wrote some decent stuff. But for JLA, this came out about the same time too, in 2002. It was called The Obsidian Age by Joe Casey. Joe Kelly. Sorry, I always flip those for some reason. But Joe Kelly and Doug Mankey on art. And it was the Justice League got trapped in, not prehistoric times, but like ancient times. And they met that version of the Justice League, and they have different morals, and they use lethal force. And and then you have this huge Easter egg at the end for all of us, kids of the Super Friends in the 70s, but it was really good. Justice League Obsidian Age, and it collects in 2 trade paperbacks. And thank you for having us on talking about a wonderful subject, man. This has been a
Dick
great
Grayson.
Saturday.
My picks would be Robin Year One from Chuck Dixon. I would go with Tales of New Teen Titans, Judas Contract, fantastic. And then another one out there for Green Arrow Longbow Hunters, Mike Grell. Another fantastic story. But like I said, we would have to go on for 10 hours to cover as much as we need to. I feel like we should be going on, but definitely have to start wrapping this up. Carlitos Figueroa, so far I'm reading Flash by Manuel Paul, and I'm enjoying it, as well you should, because it looks amazing. Francis Manuel Paul is one of the best Flash artists of all time. Lichi Oki, is Justice League the Nail comparable to Flashpoint? Is that like Superman's Flashpoint? A lot of changes happen in Superman's absence, but not to the degree of Flashpoint.
Interesting, but it obviously the Nail did not have the universe, the multiverse shaping consequences as Flashpoint did. They're both good stories. Like what if? It's DC's What If.
So you recommend Justice League the Nail?
No, I would recommend Flashpoint. Actually, I would recommend Flashpoint Paradox, the animated version, because it makes a lot more sense.
Jose de Beast, has anyone read Blackest Night Flash 3-issue miniseries? Really shows Captain Cold's honor when he kills Owen Mercer for breaking the Rogue's rules.
Yeah, he feeds him to his zombie father. That was sick. I love Captain Cold.
Yeah, that's a great 3-issue mini tie-in for sure.
Blackest Night was the last great DC Comics event.
I agree.
Doubt.
I don't know if people realize that like Green Lantern was like the center of the DC universe for a while. I mean, like everything revolved around that character. He was like the flagship. Like he eclipsed Batman and Superman at the time, and it's really bizarre when you think about that. But like Green Lantern was the character for DC for a while.
Jose Beast wants to know what everyone's top 3 Flash villains. So I would go with Reverse Flash, Captain Cold, then probably I like the name Godspeed. That's probably what sells me on it. You know what I mean? What's your top 3?
Reverse Flash, Savitar, and Captain Cold.
Very nice.
That's mine.
Yeah, mine would be.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Reverse Flash, Gorilla Grodd, and probably Captain Cold or Mirror Master for sure.
Yeah, mine's the same. It's Reverse Flash, Captain Cold, and Grodd. Those would be my top 3.
All right, sus Gabe. Let's see here. Let's hear something sus.
No, I think everybody hit it. I will say Reverse Flash, Grodd because he'll attack his mind, Reverse Flash because he'll attack his power, and Mirror Master because he'll attack his senses.
Mirror Master is another really good villain. I actually forgotten about that one.
Yeah, I love him.
Carlitos Figueroa, favorite Green Lantern run, Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern Corps by Robert Medici. Now said.
Oh, nice stuff.
That is fantastic.
That's good stuff.
Man.
I didn't see that. That's the stuff that was right before that when Hal had long hair. Remember that? And the overcoat and like, I mean, Hal Jordan would not ever have long hair. He's like
military man.
He's an Air Force, lifer.
Test pilot.
That's true.
I think I'm gonna grow out a mullet. Do you think that'll throw people off?
Maybe.
I haven't had a mullet since I was 12.
Bad boy Wes.
I'm gonna get a mullet
style
chain
now
on it. I'm gonna do it. Kalichioki, quick, each panel person's favorite Wonder Woman run or story.
Ooh, good question.
I said that Digital Legends of Wonder Woman. I think that it's really good. People should check it out. It's all ages too, and the art's really, really good.
It goes Gods and Mortals.
George
Perez, Lean Ween. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dylan. Like George Perez Wonder Woman is peak.
Nice. I would like to actually find out more about Golden Age Wonder Woman, written by Dr. William Marstons, and with one of the first women in comics, Joy Hummel, that no one really knows about. They both wrote Wonder Woman until 1948, until he died. And then that's, when the character changes. But for like a good 7 years, it's the original Wonder Woman, very subversive, strong, and
lots of bondage.
It was really good. I mean, and lots of bondage stuff, and cute, and it was just fun. The more I read about just that specific era of Wonder Woman, 1940 through 1948, it's like I would love a psychologist, a professor of psychology wrote this and invented this, and it's just there are subversive things going on in a kid's book. And that's where all this stuff started. And it's like, there you go. There you have some layered nuance. And that's my pick for one.
Gabe, what's your pick?
What? Who? What?
What's your Wonder Woman story, bro?
Oh no! Basically, anything from George Perez. Anything post George Perez doesn't count.
There is a James
because there's nobody who
understands series that's pretty good. With Wonder Woman starring in it, that I thought was good.
Nobody got Wonder Woman like George Perez. Anything after that is a hollow echo at best.
Man, shots fired on Greg Rucka. I love it.
Oh yeah,
Kyle,
Brian Azzarello.
Kyle is my number one lantern. Love his origin run. Gail Simone. Gail Simone doesn't know what she's talking about. Oh, the fridging and all that stuff.
Women in fridges, yes.
Made up nonsense.
Kyle is the one Green Lantern that doesn't make any sense to me. Why would a police force go out and recruit anybody that was an artist?
You'll do. That's it. Ganthet found him in
desperation.
It was Ganthet was desperate. You'll do.
Nobody's that desperate.
No, it was
imagination.
He was an alley rat.
Imagination. He has the imagination.
They did it because he would have better constructs. I get the why it would make better art, but
it's just that was cosmic fate. Then giving it to an artist.
I like Kyle Rayner.
It was just Kyle or another piece of brocclip.
They should have put it on a piece of broccoli. Put it on a dog. Do something interesting.
That's another sector. The broccoli lantern.
Chip has more potential to do damage than Kyle Rayner, as he's thinking about painting.
But that was the last lantern ring with actually the great battery of Oa smuggled in it with the spirit of the Guardians. Remember,
you're just speaking too much nerd for me.
Too much
DC Comics. The New God Saga by Jack Kirby, Orion by Walter Simonson, the Fourth World Saga by John Byrne. Superman needs more stories with the New Gods. Well, it would certainly help because there aren't very many villains out there that even stand up to Superman anymore, and a lot of those can.
Yeah. And just having some adventures with like Light Ray and Orion, people that can equal them in strength.
Yeah.
Wait, are you saying you're not captivated by Howard Stern in a wheelchair?
No, that was so bad. It's so weird. Graf and
Marmon Graf, yeah.
Shirtless Howard Stern in a wheelchair.
I mean, I like Williamson's Superman run enough too, but that was a big whiff for me. I thought the Chained was much better, more compelling villain.
Yeah.
Thought he was a lot cooler. But obviously, Mr. DC Comics is a fan of the Fourth World. Carlos 8560. All I'll say is do more with Booster Gold. Nobody does anything with him. I guess we just had that Dan Jurgens Blue and Gold series with Blue Beetle and Booster Gold.
Yeah, but it's mostly like a greatest hits kind of mini series. It was like leaning too much on the nostalgia instead of doing something different.
Before that, the only person I remember doing anything with Booster was Tom King with Heroes in Crisis, and then he had that wedding gift thing where he sent Batman back in time.
One of the worst stories ever.
Well, Tom King also had Booster Gold as an idiot, which is sort of consistent.
He was basically Archer
in Human Target.
I read him.
In Human Target,
like I could hear the voice of Archer coming.
If you go back and look at it, remember that panel where he sees Hal pretty much do himself off, and he's like, "Cool." He looked like PC Principal is exactly how he acted, and that is just stupid.
So I do want to say thank you very much to everybody with all the comments and talking about all this stuff. This was actually a lot of fun. We got to do this stuff a little bit more often, but we should talk about some comic book recommendations about new stuff. I will be doing the best of the week. It's already recorded with our good friend Gray because he's already in bed because he lives in Japan. that'll be coming up tonight with all my recommendations. Dylan, thank you very much for joining us. Do you have any recommendations for comic books this week?
Thank you for having me. And yes, I've got two. I've got Neil Forzad issue number 6 and Get Fury issue number 2. Those are my 2 from this week. Both solid, both fun, both cool. And
so I like Get Fury too.
Yeah.
But there's a twist in there that I had to reread 3 times to understand it.
Was it the CIA agents?
The 3 agents, yes.
Yeah. I had to. I did the same thing. Yeah, same exact thing when I was reading it. I had to reread that sentence of it. It's like, how's that? Yep. What? And then I was like,
There's
okay,
it's a good element to put in there on why this stuff is happening, but he didn't explain it completely clearly. But other than that, it's really good. It's disgusting by the end.
Yeah, yeah, in the best way though.
Yeah, and Neil Before Zod continues to just twist and turn all over the place. Really like that series.
He's got his own crew now with that prison ship. It's great, and there's a Legion of Superhero fans. If there's any that you'll enjoy what happened in the latest issue of Neil Before Zod.
The only thing that upsets me is that he killed off Big Rig, who was my new favorite DC character for like 2 panels.
Yeah,
Big Rig didn't last long. I like anybody that talks about themselves in the third person.
Ricky Henderson, best.
Big Rig is in charge. Like Master Blaster runs Bartertown. I'm all about that stuff. Nander, do you have any comic books to recommend?
Not from this week, but I did have a recommendation. I've mentioned Jim Kruger a couple times on the stream, and there was an indie book, one of his first books that he ever did, called The Foot Soldiers, that was published by Dark Horse Comics, that came out in the late 90s, early 2000s. And it's about a kind of a ragtag group of teenagers who are living in this kind of 1984, like Orwellian type of world. And they stumble across the graveyard of all these superheroes, and they put on their costumes, and they acquire their gadgets and their powers, and they're kind of leading a revolution against like the government and against kind of this fascist society. And it's a really, really great story. Phil Hester does the artwork for it. It's a black and white story if you get the trade, but I think when they came out in the direct market, they were color versions. But I recommend everyone picking up The Foot Soldiers. It's a really great kind of teenager type like superhero story.
Very nice. And definitely go check out Indiegogo. You're still on demand, correct?
That's right. Yeah, go check out The Fabled Offering on Indiegogo. It's a 46-page sci-fi fantasy one-shot about a lone princess on a quest to save herself. And it's a one-and-done tale. It tells an emotional arc for the character. There's definitely a lot that we could do with it later on. But if you like kind of sci-fi fantasy, if you're a fan of books like Remender and Jerome Opeña's Seven to Eternity, this book was made for you.
Very nice. Michael Bober says, thanks for staying up late yet again, Wes. Doing the hard yaka as always. Well, I do appreciate it. We are coming up on 1 a.m. here in the Philippines, but I was having such a good time. We couldn't shut it down early this week. I really appreciate that. Gabe, do you have any recommendations? You've always got recommendations.
I've always got recommendations, but I got to admit the last couple of weeks have been rough. Very rough. But I'll give a couple. I would have put Get Fury number 2 on the list, but that middle CI explanation was just poorly done. And so I had to give it
very confusing.
It was very confusing. You had to read it a couple times to get it. And I think it references like the Max run going back a while. So, but there was no editor's notes, so they kind of whiffed it there. Therefore, I'm going to give 2. Oh, first, shameless plug at Weird Science DC Comics, at Weird Science Marvel Comics, and 100% at Comical Opinions. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do reviews just about every day at this point, so video reviews. So please join on. Recommendations. I'm going to recommend soft recommendation, The Ultimates number 1, simply because if you thought The Ultimate Invasion from last fall was terrible and you couldn't quite understand what's going on, this is the issue that makes that much more clear and kind of really sets the stage. Even though it's not a particularly exciting issue, it's a very informative issue and sets the stage for whatever's going to happen over the next 18 months at this point. So I would recommend that one. And then I would recommend picking up Space Ghost number 2. I kind of like that a lot. I like where David Pepos is going with that series. It's giving you Space Ghost, but a more mature version. And this is the issue that recasts the origin story of Space Ghost for this particular iteration. And I just think overall was just really well done, taking the Hanna-Barbera cartoon and making it more of a modern twist without making it dumb or silly. That's it.
That's it.
Very nice. Jose the Beast agrees. He says, I'm more of a DC guy, but I recommend Ultimates #1. Glad a lot of people are enjoying that one. I was a little bit more cold on it. Not that it's bad, but it wasn't quite what I was expecting. But there is a lot of information going on there. What else we got? We got Eric O'Sullivan. You got any recommendations?
Hello.
I know you got a bag full of books.
I got a bag full of funny books that I get from my local comic book shop on Wednesdays. It's filled with funny books. I spent about, I think, $32 this week. I got a bunch of Image books and things. I like comics for art sometimes, and these a couple of them just blew me away. I got Kneel Before Zod #6 of 12. It's really fun because, ladies and gentlemen, there's a Yule Carter reference in this comic book. Yes, you're gonna have to see it to believe it. Pick up your own copy. I
forgot he and Joe Casey are buddies because I saw the Yule part.
Exactly.
And I didn't go, oh, that's Yule Carter.
Exactly. Isn't that fun? Yeah. He's also in, I think Yule's also in Savage Dragon 170, I believe. And so if you find a copy out there in the wild, he's looking for it. I got Get Fury issue #2. It's really good. It's really savage and I was going to say to the throat, but it really gets you in the gut, doesn't it?
Oh, that's terrible. It's terrible.
Scarlet #1 by Kelly Thompson. This it reads like a much better version of her Birds of Prey issue #1. It's like the same kind of setup. Like you get this splash page with like one backdrop and the hero doing the gauntlet of bad guys and just this kinetic kung fu scene. It works. I like it. But she's like, I noticed that she did that in Birds of Prey as well. I've been getting The Last Mermaid. This is issue 4. This is interesting, unique format. It's in a square. It's very. It reads like movie. This is very cinematic.
It's awesome.
Yeah, this is like an anime, and they look like storyboards from a movie.
It's all widescreen.
Yeah, but I'm liking the story. I like the premise. It works for me.
Mm-hmm. No, it's really good.
It's got 2 more issues, and I like art and I like comics. So I'll take a chance on something that has unique dimensions that doesn't really bother me. This is one that flew everyone's radar. This is Jenna Chu's The Sickness. This is part 5 of 5. This is a really weird story told in 1945 and in 1955, but with this wonderful black and white pencil art and just the clean but very Twilight Zone and macabre. This was amazing. It's called Precious Metal #1. This is for $5.99, and there's got to be about like 70 pages or 60 pages worth of story and art. The colors in this are so nice. If you like Euro comics, if you like Jean-Gerard Mobius, or like
if you like shrooms,
dude, if you like
other hallucinations,
it's science fiction.
LSD.
It's over the top. It's grotesque, and it's really fun. And I also got Bear Viking Pirate Queen #2, and because at #2 I was like, the first issue just blew me away, like it did to a lot of us. And this is a lot like early Vertigo stuff. This is good stuff. Don't sleep on Bear Pirate Viking Queen at your local comic book shop, where you too can get a bag of funny books every week, fresh on Wednesdays.
Very
Indeed.
nice.
And thank you, Wes. What a wonderful morning. What a wonderful show.
We appreciate it. We got Jim from Weird Science last. Anything hopping at Weird Science, or are you still on the dirty song thing?
I'm on the dirty song thing, full out. But also we're going to be recording soon after this. We'll be recording our 540th episode of our DC.
Well, congratulations!
Podcast, which is 540 weeks in a row. We've never missed a week since we started. So it is 540 shows in a row. We'll be doing that. It's not really a anniversary number, but I just figured.
So that's like what, 10 and a half years?
Yep. Yeah. 2015. We started, haven't missed a week. So we're doing that. And then the same old stuff from the YouTube channel. I'll have my best of the week up this evening probably as well. And stuff like the anticipated comics and some other stuff going on. Just normal stuff. But my recommendations are the Wolverine Blood Hunt #1, which was a shock to me that I did enjoy it so much, by Thomas Waltz and Juan Jose Rip on art. I thought that was pretty cool, as even going in if you don't even care about Blood Hunt, which I don't think that many people do. It was a pretty good little one shot that ties into Ben Percy's run and some characters from that, some cool characters. And then over at DC, Boy Wonder #2, which I actually am enjoying a lot more than I thought I would as well. On that, though, me and Wes were both confused of why it's a Black Label book and not an all ages book. But it's still, I like it. And the first issue, the art is very stylistic, whatnot. The second issue, I'm kind of used to it, and I really enjoyed it. So that would be that.
Very nice. I hope everyone had a great time. If you showed up halfway through, make sure you go to the beginning, because we just talked about all the best DC comic books for almost 3 hours, like a little bit over 2.5 hours, and a lot of fun. Do want to say thank you very much to everybody. I will see you next time, and Doc will be back, grumpy as ever.